coming up to the line, being chased, and it was Braden Johnson.
Unbelievable finish.
It was 1/1000th of a second between them.
Green flag in the air. We are racing in the 2020 24 Hours of Daytona.
They go door to door for the feature race lead here on the last lap of the race. Side by side for the race lead in the final corner at Homestead.
Down the back straightaway, 3 wide again for the race lead. This is unbelievable stuff here tonight.
Aloma is going to have to be very deep on the brakes, and he is very deep on the brakes. It's side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
It'll be side by side. Davies low, Ottinger high. To the very inside is Garrett low. 4 wide at the stripe. For Audie's win here on this outside line. Neck and neck. Who's going to back out? Does anyone back out? Verstappen starts to squeeze on the inside, and now he'll try and straight line it. Goes under the apron, drag race to the line. It's so close to call. The journey that awaits to the start of the playoffs continues to the home of NASCAR, where tonight we welcome you to KBRN's live coverage of Race 7 of the 2020 iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series campaign from the Charlotte Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina. Up in the booth, you'll find Charlie Baier and myself, Kenneth Bueno, going to be bringing you all the coverage as we go. And we kick off tonight's coverage with one of the more striking topics of conversation as we wind down this regular season. Which drivers can squeeze into the top 10 in the points?
Yeah, I think that door is definitely open for some of these guys who are outside the top 10 to maybe score a top 10 points place before the playoffs start. And one big factor in that is the field size tonight. We have a full field here at Charlotte Motor Speedway tonight, and it is going to be a wild one for sure. We want to thank all these drivers for coming out here tonight and racing with us. It's going to be a really good race for sure. We got some big names here. A lot of people over from the iScar Racing League coming over to race with us. It means a lot to us and to the Bundren Lawn Care Series. So it's going to be a fun one for sure. Lots of guys I know personally here, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Full 43 drivers here tonight at Charlotte. And then when you mentioned squeezing into the top 10 in points, here are your current standings after race 6 shown in the middle of your screen. Blaze McKinney with a 167 point stack up after race number 6 at Iowa and his win. Curtis Granger falls behind 61 points shy of the point seat, so a big gap between first and second. Then you'll find Ryan Potter in third. Parker White with a rough couple of runs. He is in fourth, 80 points behind. You'll find Kilo Hankins, Kelan Belsha, Glenn Bundren, JJ Hill amongst the guys that are Instagram Buds Racing members, and Grayson Trexler and Carl Faust in 10th, 108 points behind. And as we've seen the past couple of races through this season, the point standings have really shaken up largely. And I want to mention just a couple of notable point shifts from a couple of guys here. You want to mention William Schmidt, 14 points after race 6. Shane DiMantova, 12 points up, currently 14th. And the man that we're talking about right now, and as we approach these final races, Charlie, if you want to make it in, you have to really hustle for that spot coming tonight at Darlington next week, and then finally at Las Vegas where the top 10 are decided. And one of those drivers who needs to rocket to this top 10, the driver who's been strong all season, currently 23rd, Keaton Jones.
Yeah, Keaton Jones has really shown his strength in the last few races, especially here at Michigan International Raceway. We also saw him at North Wilkesboro and Iowa. He was really strong there, and I would expect him to really hassle for that last playoff spot because I know him personally. He's a really aggressive driver, and I can't wait to see what he can do.
It's going to be a lot of work for that 62 of Keaton Jones to make up, especially with this large field that we have tonight. And practice is currently going on right now on the racetrack. A bunch of drivers, especially the new ones that are entering tonight's event, are looking to get a nice show out on their first debut in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. A couple of those drivers, you look at Connor Brannon at the top of the board, Cole Williams, a fellow driver from LWRC, Aaron Mulrooney Jr., AJ Bain. Lots of drivers from, like you mentioned, the iRacing Stock Car Auto Racing Series, the Ice Car Series. Those drivers come from that division of iRacing and that league itself. And that league is a really transferring over to the Bundren Lawn Care Series really shows the skill that a lot of these drivers really possess when it comes down to the sim racing. And with this large field, it's going to be a lot of challenges for some of these drivers that are coming from Ice Car, making their first debuts here tonight. They kind of got to pick up their footing.
Oh yeah, and Ice Car is an exciting racing league for sure. I've been there almost a year now, and there's a lot of good drivers here, and it's nice to see them all hop over and come race with us. So yeah, I can't wait to see what these guys do. Unfortunately for these new joiners, they didn't join early enough, so they can't really score a playoff spot. But they're just here to race. They're here to have fun, just like any other racing league, and we hope to please them.
And if you've watched the last couple of broadcasts from the KBRN Racing Network, we've actually covered a little bit of Ice Car coverage with the KBRN Street Stock Series, as well as the Tolsmo Designs Modified Tour. We covered that just last week, 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, covered those races as well. And if you talk about the rest of the schedule, moving forward, the 2 races left till we decide this top 10 for the playoffs, you're looking at a tough track in Darlington, the track too tough to tame. And then you're looking at Las Vegas, a final cutoff for those top 10 drivers, and really decide where those drivers will be and where they will fight for that championship. And of course, playoffs will start cut down to 7 after 3 races. Then after 3 races after that, cut down to 4. Those 4 will be your championship 4. But right now, we're on the outside looking into the playoffs, and it's going to be a lot of running, especially guys trying to catch Blaze McKinney, who's been so dominant the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. And Blaze McKinney is going to be a tough character to catch in this series. He has such a dominating points lead, and he has performed so well throughout this series. And I'm interested to see if anyone can catch him. I think some of the names that could catch him is definitely Keela Hankins, who's currently sitting in the top 10 in points, and some other names who are just outside the top 20 who have been racing with us in the past few weeks. I think they also could put up a fight. So it'll be interesting to see.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And as qualifying has just begun, practice has just concluded. We've got the qualifying starting up, and all the drivers will start to get by themselves on the racetrack, set their 2 laps, and find out where those drivers will stand when we get to the starting grid. But we're going to take it down trackside where pre-race ceremonies are. And that means with a patriotic night for the July weekend, that means we're going to take it down trackside as they perform the national anthem and salute your nation's colors.
Welcome back to the racetrack. Thank you all for helping us salute our nation's colors. Obviously, this weekend was the 4th of July, so we thank the people who came before us to build this country and make the ultimate sacrifice. So, speaking of 4th of July, you have a lot of patriotic cars running with us tonight, and it's certainly cool to see. We see Henry Tabor in his camo, number 16 Chevy Camaro. We also see a good bit of cars tonight, so that's cool to see.
Yeah, it is very cool to see. Of course, you mentioned last Saturday, excuse me, was 4th of July, and a bunch of people celebrating that in the United States. And obviously the drivers here are sporting their celebrations in their red, white, and blue colors. And I think it's a little more fitting than what we saw earlier in the day when we covered RC and a handful of drivers having patriotic schemes. This time around, especially at Charlotte with the stars and stripes that are already on the walls around this track and the red, white, and blue colors, it seems a little more fitting to have all the cars here rather than anywhere else in the United States on iRacing, the sim racing service. Still got a little bit of time left in qualifying, and with that, we're going to kind of mention what happened 2 weeks ago. Last race was at Iowa, and that was a star-studded show with Blaze McKinney, Keaton Jones battling for that race lead. It was Blaze McKinney at the end of the night to pick up the win. We took a little off week last week, and this week we're back into action. And Blaze McKinney, pretty much one of the more dominant cars. He led almost every lap of that race. He was a really strong factor coming to the end, and Keaton Jones really gave him a run for his money, but this could be a show out for a lot of these drivers that are possibly could be contending. Drivers such as Nick Miller, who contended at Michigan, Keloa Hankins, possibly Aaron Mulrooney Jr. in his first start. It could be a lot of surprises here tonight.
Oh yeah, and with this big field size, I would definitely expect a lot of aggression out of these guys because it's such a big field, and even if you're back in around the 15th position, you want to try to claw for the top 10. So we're gonna see a lot of aggression out of these guys tonight. It's gonna make for an entertaining one for sure.
Qualifying is just about wrapped up. That means the drivers are set all their lap times for the full 43 driver field we have for tonight's event and 100 laps here at Charlotte. And with that, we are going to get to your starting grid as they line up on the front straightaway. We're going to give you your starting grid right in the middle of your screen. Show where everybody shows, and the pole goes to the proximity driver, the 92 of Connor Brandon at 29.231. He starts on the pole in his first ever start in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. Right alongside him, LWRC racer Cole Williams. He starts right alongside him in second to 42.
And right behind that 92 proximity machine, also his teammate starting third, Keaton Jones, had a pretty strong run here the last couple of weeks. Unfortunately, didn't end very well for him, but he's looking for another good run tonight. Starting third, Keaton Jones, into his outside all-time record holder for most wins in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, Blaze McKinney in that 87.
Row 3 will feature the 3 of Dylan L. Parker starting in 5th. Alongside him, another driver making his first start tonight. That's the 097 of AJ Bain.
Starting in row number 4, Jacob Tyler May in that number 4 machine. And to his outside, Dylan Basin driving for Nova Sim Racing, starting 8th at 018 car.
If you look back to row number 5 in the ending of the top 10, you'll find a 00 Brady, also from the LWRC Racing League, and you'll find Nick Miller as well. Starts just inside the top 10.
Right outside the top 10, 37 car of Glenn Bundren driving for Peak Performance Motorsports Chevrolet Camaro. And to his outside teammate, Peak Performance Motorsports teammate 51 of Zach Amon.
Keloa Hankins, after a rough running at Michigan, could have gotten his first win, but he starts in 13th tonight, looking for a good race tonight. Alongside him is the red, white, and blue James Youngerman Designs, the driver and sponsor, James Youngerman in 14th.
Starting right behind them, Parker White in that 95 machine starting 15th, and Hunter Rupp, first-time racer here with us tonight, will start 16th in row number 8.
Row number 9 will feature another first-time driver here in this series, the 014 of Cole Woody, starting in 17th, and by his outside will be the 39 Ford Mustang, another Peak Performance driver near the back, Andy McDowell in 18th.
And running out your top 20, the 55 car of Bertie Garner running a Dogecoin car tonight, and 27 car, once again another PPM car of Caden Atkins, that 29 car. Now to run out your top 20, we'll quickly scroll through the rest of the field here. 100 laps here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Gonna be an exciting one here for you guys tonight. We appreciate everyone in the YouTube chat coming out here, and it'll be an exciting one for sure. I can't wait.
Going to be a very long race, but a very exciting one nonetheless. And with a full field of 43 drivers, it's chaotic. You're going to see a lot of drivers sweeping around this track, using every inch of the track they can to get every advantage. And especially when drivers go 3 wide, you really have nowhere to go. You have to stake to your line. A bunch of drivers swerving in and out, trying to get positions as quickly as they can, especially those drivers who need a little bit of a boost in the points standings. We'll find the field pacing into turn 3 and 4. Connor Brandon, Cole Williams will lead the field to green. A proximity driver right behind the pole sitter. That'll be Keaton Jones, Blaze McKinney, the two drivers we mentioned at the top of the show, who will be fighting for that Bundren Lawn Care Series championship. Keaton Jones, of course, still needs a little work to do, but tonight could be redemption. Pace car comes off in a pit road. Connor Brandon will lead the field to green alongside Cole Williams. Green flag from Charlotte.
Connor Brandon with the jump into turn number 1. Once again, his number 62 teammate right behind him of Keaton Jones. But to the outside, here comes the 42 car of Cole Williams with Chevrolet teammate right behind them, Blaze McKinney. And a bit of wobble off the corner for that 87 car.
Clean through 1 and 2, not like I expected, but we have a lot of drivers scrubbed up together, especially those two proximity teammates who seem to be one and done right behind each other. And a little bit of a wash up from the track from the 92 that'll leave the opportunity for the 42 of Cole Williams to sneak by. He takes the race lead on lap number 1.
Connor Brandon, that 92 car, tucks in behind the 42 of Cole Williams, currently battling for 3rd place. Blaze McKinney to the outside of rival Chevrolet teammate Keaton Jones. So they're going to be fighting for the 1st spot. 3 wide lap car on the bottom, and they will get by them safe and sound there. Another lap car on the top. That's a 77 of Curtis Granger.
I believe some of those drivers started down pit road, so those drivers have a little bit to make up in terms of getting around this field. I know the 77 of Curtis Granger was there. The 47 Cope was also down on the apron. He makes way for the rest of the field, but he's carving himself into the middle of this top 3, where the top 2 have pretty much spread themselves from the rest of the field. You look at behind them, Keaton Jones, the number 3, but I believe that's Ty Smith. You find the 87 of Blaze McKinney, and a couple of drivers making their moves. I believe that's A.J. Bain to the bottom of the track. They're making the moves down the middle, front straightaway.
And you see Dylan Parker, one of the newer drivers here, currently thrusting himself into the 3rd spot, trying to get past Keaton Jones. But Blaze McKinney fell outside of the top 10, or top 5 here, but if it's surprise here, we got a caution out on the racetrack.
Caution lap 4. We'll see who that involves. And already, guys, spinning. That's Hunter Rupp, Henry Tabor involved. Oh, you see it clip the 47 of Preston Cope. He gets another driver involved. I believe that's Kelan Belsha. Yes, it is. He gets a little damage there. I believe there might have been a little bit of contact before this incident, though. We saw this right as the yellow came out. I'm not sure. Well, we'll see what happened. Yeah, there was a driver going down the apron. We're going 3 wide here. A bunch of drivers close up together, and we'll try to give you a replay and see what happens. Of course, sometimes iRacing doesn't allow for the best camera shots. I see some drivers go around in turn 2, around turn 1 and turn 2. I see a couple drivers, and then after, I believe it had to have involved the 61 of Hunter Rupp, involved Henry Tabor. He a driver hard into the outside wall. There's James Youngman involved as well. Then he gets another tap from the 61. Henry Tabor goes around into the inside wall, tag 49.
This was the wreck here, the initial wreck. Looked like someone shoved the 39 of Andy McDowell and just couldn't get it slowed down enough. Just slammed into the cars above him on the racetrack. So that's a tough start for him.
Yeah, Andy McDowell was forced down the racetrack, and with that race space to make moves, sometimes that contact can really happen, especially if you're in the middle of a 3 wide situation. You're trying to make some space, you really have the momentum to make a run, and you try to, but then you really can't. You see some drivers down pit road who were involved in that incident, and some drivers who weren't. Dylan Parker, Blaze McKinney, those guys head down pit road. The number 10 as well dips down. See a couple more drivers heading into their pit stalls. I believe they're just getting tires for this first stint. And even though you have that first stint, even if you don't have as many laps on your tires, fresh tires are worth everything at tracks like these. You see Kilowa Hankins, Parker White, Dane Cruz, those drivers down pit road as well. And fresh tires mean everything at this track, even especially at the 1.5 milers. And we saw it at LWRC at Homestead earlier today.
Yeah, and you're going to start to see those guys start to dip down pit road and get those fresh tires. We saw it, like you said, at the Homestead race we had earlier today. So all but the top 10 cars went down pit road. So we're going to see people like Blaze McKinney, Dane Cruz, Dylan Parker, Kilowa Hankins, all those big names who went down to the pit road grabbing those 4 fresh tires. We're going to see them start to slice through the field here and try to get back up to the front. But that was a pretty good 6-lap run that we had going on there. Lots of close racing, but unfortunately 3 wide in the back does not work very well.
It does not. It seems as though the front of the field, everyone got And what was happening behind them, you see Connor Brandon, Cole Williams, Keaton Jones, Blaze McKinney. Those guys were making pretty normal moves, and they had interference with some of the guys who started down pit road, but regardless, they were able to keep it clean, and then everyone behind them going 3 wide. So close, and that obviously comes from contact, and that could send a car around, easily trigger a yellow. But while we're under yellow, a good opportunity to tell you that you can join the conversation with us here in the booth on the K1 Racing Network. You can do so by using hashtag AskKBRN, and you can ask any question you want to us in the booth about the race, about our picks, about anything in general. We've had a question once that asked us what our favorite cheese was, so those questions are obviously acceptable as well. You can ask any question. And while we have that, we already have one question down there. But LVB asks, what is key to driving a clean race with 43 drivers in this field? I know it's tough.
Yeah, and really the key is just to try to give each other as much room as possible, especially, not even, 10 laps into a race, and you want to give each other as much room as possible. Try to minimize those 3 wide moves that we've been seeing, and really overall just try to be conservative and really just try to make it to the end, I guess, because a lot of cars here are very prone to very massive wrecks like we saw with Andy McDowell, so I think big field is very prone to wrecks, and the key to making it through is just to give each other as much space, much racing room as possible.
Yeah, and sometimes if you're in the back with those guys going 3 wide, making some of those wilder moves and those bolder moves to get up front, you have to try and stay conservative so you don't end up in a wreck like that. But sometimes you could be in the wrong place at the right time, and it could strike you like it did some of the drivers down there in our recent caution, our first caution of the night. And with 43 drivers, I believe you kind of have to move your way to the front as quickly as possible, because when we saw up front, it was pretty calm. We didn't see a lot of drivers making contact. We didn't see too many 3 wide moves. We didn't see too many crazy moves down the start of the race. I think those drivers have it a little bit figured out when it comes down to being up front and really trying to take care of 100 laps. It's a long race here at Charlotte. You have to really conserve your car and conserve what you can early on in the race, so that when the later stages of the race start to approach, maybe you get a fuel strategy, maybe you get a caution-filled event, maybe something else happens, and maybe you're not prepared for that. So if you keep your car as conservative as you can in this first run, that could really set you up pretty cleanly for what could possibly happen through the rest of the running.
Yeah, it's all about gaining respect of your competitors, and if you go out there, race really hard, throw a bunch of blocks, and kind of just don't care about your surroundings, people are gonna see that, and they're gonna want to throw you out and shuffle you out of the pack. So it's all about making friends out here, but sometimes you have those enemies that you really can't avoid. So yeah, it's really all about giving each other as much room as possible and trying to make it to the end together.
Yeah, you can, especially if you're teammates and guys at Proximity Racing. Keaton Jones, the drivers of Proximity Racing working together. Then you have all the Peak Performance drivers running together as well. Another good team and another key team in this race is a Sim Performance Group, the esports, the Evo Sim Sport division, as I should say. That's also another key team working today. They have a handful of drivers in tonight's running, including Aaron Maroney, Nick Miller, Shane DiMantova being one of those drivers. And then you have Instagram Buds Racing with a couple of drivers, JJ Hill and Kelan Belsha. Jack DeAndrea not making tonight's race, but he is part of the team as well. We have 2 Ask KBRN questions before we get to the green flag. We're almost at the green flag. We're just in turn 1, but we're going to answer these before we get to the green flag. One by my good friend, my best friend in real life, Evan Garcia, asked, how did you become such a good commentator? Well, I appreciate the support, and I appreciate it. I say thank you, but I tried to practice as much as I can, and it's something I've really wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I'm having a lot of fun with that, and I know Charlie's been along for the ride. He's kind of been annoyed at me past couple of weeks with some of the things I've done, but it's okay. We got one more question before we get to the green flag. How do you prep for your races? I think I just kind of write a little bit of notes and kind of take a little bit of ordering before I kind of get to the start of the race, and I kind of get that anxietal feeling, but it's fine. We're still getting to that as well. So yeah, we have 2 more questions.
Yeah, we both, Kenneth and I both split the work pretty evenly. We do lots of graphics work. Kenneth does all the graphics. I do mainly the stream and video stuff. So, yeah, it's a joint operation. We're pretty much butt buddies when it comes to this, and I think we work really well together.
All right, well, we are ready for this green flag with Cole Williams, Connor Brown. Still in row 2, AJ Bain peeks himself in a row 2. Green flag is back out. Connor Brandon with a huge jump.
about a 3-car length jump here, and Keaton Jones can clear the 42 off of turn number 2, in which he does. He will be able to work with his teammate, try to hold off the rest of the field. But here comes Nick Miller. We saw him in the Homestead race earlier today. Ran really well, finished just short of Keelan Hankins. He's into the 3rd place if he can clear the 42. And also Dylan Basin, first-time starter in the 018 car, having a good run as well.
Yeah, Dylan Basin in the 018 now filing between Cole Williams, who's now to the outside. Nick Miller, I want to talk about Nick Miller just a little bit as we have a battle for 2 proximity racing drivers. Keaton Jones looking for the race lead, and he does get able to contact with the 92. He loses a little bit of ground, but he's okay. Great, no caution on the racetrack, not anything too serious, but Nick Miller came up just short of the win at Homestead earlier today due to Kelan Hankins. He kind of fell off on the last run, and then Kelan Hankins got the best of him. And
look at this, 4
wide. 4 wide behind those drivers. Oh my goodness, another car around. Looks like Brady Wheeleman is around to the outside wall. Collects a couple of the drivers. Joe Berge involved. I think Hunter Rupp is there as well. A couple of drivers. The 055 gets in there late. Oh my goodness. When we saw 4 wide, that had to have signaled some trouble, and it did in a hard wreck for the 00. Brady Wheeleman, an LWRC racer, gets into trouble early tonight.
And that was insane how they went 4 wide there. I don't know how they stuck it for that long, but unfortunately ended in trouble. Looks like Blaze McKinney just got stuffed in the middle. And when they pushed up the track, that allowed the 3-car of Dylan Parker to get up. And Mitch Hobbs just kind of ran out of room there and unfortunately got to the rear quarter panel of that 00 car. So trouble down the front straightaway, and almost up and over he goes. And a few more cars starting to make contact as he halts to a stop. And wow.
Wow. I don't know what to say there. I was not expecting 4 wide. We saw 3 wide and it looked okay. And then obviously a wreck happened, but still, you know, you expect sometimes 3 wide action. But look at this. 4 wide with Mitch Hobbs, Blaze McKinney, the 011. I believe that down there, I'm trying to see what the number is, but I think so. We're on board with Blaze McKinney here, and he didn't get any scathing from this incident. He was just kind of filing himself. Oh, that was a 3 of Dylan Parker involved. He was the one that made it 4 wide to the bottom. But what a move by the 3 to make that. That was a daring move, but of course it didn't end too well with Mitch Hobbs getting into the 00.
Yeah, and when the door opens like that, you really don't want it to go to waste. But you know, it's a tough situation to be in to put your car down there. But
yeah,
unfortunately, the short end of the stick is that 00 car. But lots of a bit of shuffling for the race lead. I'm not sure where Connor Brennan currently stands right now, and looks like he's in pit road. Must be getting 4 fresh tires and fuel. Obviously, he lost that bit of ground there after he got shuffled out of the top 5, so he's getting 4 fresh tires and is hopefully going to make up the ground that he lost.
Yeah, I think Connor Brennan is just trying to keep himself safe after that little contact with his fellow teammate, Keaton Jones. Those two got into a little bit of contact, and then Keaton Jones slid up the racetrack. I don't think it affected his tire too much, but I think rather be safe than sorry in his case, and he's taking that fresh tires, and it could work at the end of the night. We saw Blaze McKinney. He pitted on the last caution. He's now up into the top 5. He's now near the front of the field again, so a driver like him making those moves early on can still do that as well. And we got an update from Cole Williams, who was running through the front of the field. Says during the yellow, the game crashed on him. So, boy, that sucks.
Yikes.
For the 42 of Cole Williams. He was running really well, and he was running with these guys pretty much up front pretty competitively. We saw he's one of the drivers who's one of the veterans in LWRC. He's one of the better drivers there. He's a really good driver in LWRC. He's put on a great show for us at the KBRN Racing Network. Sucks to see him out of this race early. But we have another Ask KBRN question in the booth. We got one from Kurtz67 asks, how many laps can they run on a tank of fuel? And this could be possible if we have a long...
Yeah, and you know, I've raced the NIS Coke 600, which is the full-length Charlotte race, iRacing official race. 400 laps here. It's a grueling race, but from to the best of my memory, I think the fuel run here is about 60 laps. So they can go. These Cup car fuel tanks are a lot bigger than as compared to the trucks or the Xfinity. So they can go a bit, and that's really brings tire saving into play here. So around 60 laps, you can go in a full tank.
Yeah, and that could be something we see. It's a 100-lap event, so these drivers have to get fuel and tires by the end of this run to finish this race and keep their cars pretty much substantial for the rest of the race. They have to pit or else they're going to run out of fuel, which obviously you don't want to put yourself in that position because that'll be very tough. But we haven't had a long green flag run so far yet, so I mean, we really haven't exploited that use of the fuel strategy, but I think if we can get a longer run down the stretch, that'll be a lot of fun to watch, especially coming down the line. We have another question by my sister. Kylie asked, so when did you get into racing? Well, it was about 2005, I would say, and I was a young kid, and I was scrolling through the TV channels. You know, my dad was there. I was scrolling and pretty much surfing through the TV channels and pretty much finding what I wanted to watch. And then I just stumbled upon a NASCAR race. I don't know how the chance happened that it was a NASCAR race out of all things, but it was. And then I just got hooked to it instantly. I started watching it, and I was instantly fell in love. And I know a lot of people in this race, and a lot of people who enjoy sim racing, a lot of people who enjoy racing in general, they remember that first moment when they first strike and find motorsport for the first time. And it's really kind of love at first sight, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't really remember stumbling across motorsport for the first time because I've pretty much been surrounded with it my entire life. And, you know, as a kid, I just remember just sitting there on a Sunday afternoon watching a NASCAR race. And, you know, once every year we'd go down to Joliet, Illinois and stop by a NASCAR race. And, you know, that was one of my favorite memories as a child, is watching Tony Stewart whip around the racetrack. So I've pretty much been watching NASCAR my entire life for really as long as I can remember. So, yeah, it's something that I'll never let go, and made a lot of memories watching the sport. So, yeah, pretty much my entire life. So, yeah.
Yeah, lots of people rooted deep into the racing roots. And a lot of people grow up with racing. A lot of people grow up racing themselves. And we have a driver who's actually a real legend car session. That's the 2 of Aaron Mulrooney. He's been rooted with racing his entire life, and he's been able to put that translation into sim racing with his dad. I've talked to him a couple times. You know, a genuine guy, and he's really, really good on the racetrack. Raw talent on the iRacing side of things, as well as the legend car side of things. I think he won the other day in a legend car. Correct me if I'm wrong there. Yeah, he did. So, you know, he's been able to be successful on both fronts, and I think that's a lot of super cool to see. As I think we got the 1 to green signal, so we will go green next time by Keaton Jones, a proximity racing driver with Nick Miller to his outside. Nick Miller, a shout out. He's actually part of the division that part of Sin Performance Group, so those guys teammates working together tonight. 2 different manufacturers. Regardless, the teammate stays. The teammate, what should I say? The teammate tendency, I should say, stays strong here tonight. And we've got an exciting race to the end. Look at the driver into 3rd. That's the 08 of JJ. He's mustered a couple good runs through this season. He mustered up a 5th place finish, I believe, at Homestead. So he's been able to come up with some good finishes. He's got the KBRN red, white, and blue down on the side of the car, so that's a lot of fun to see. That's cool to see on our end. So he's been able to muster up some good finishes, and I think that if he stay up here as well as he has been, he can really get a good finish out of this as well. Remember, he's in that could be eligible for the playoffs coming into the next 2 races, and a good race today could mean the difference between making the playoffs and just looking from the outside, looking in. We're going to take the green flag. The pace car will roll off. Lap number 17 is behind us. We'll approach lap number 18 with Keaton Jones and Nick Miller rounding at the front row. Green flag is back out. A good start for the 62.
Let's get another good jump for a proximity racing car out in front, but Nick Miller, very aggressive, a very good racer. We saw him earlier today in the LWRC Cup Series, but it's just short like I mentioned earlier, hoping to just gain 1 spot and take the win here. But JJ Hill, kind of one of the underrated drivers who hasn't really found his way up towards into the top 3, currently sitting, well, just outside the top 3 now that Blaze McKinney made the pass. Also Parker White, we've seen him run up front, unfortunately has had a bit of bad luck here in the Bundren Lawn Care Series, but hoping to get a good finish tonight.
Parker White has had some troubling finishes the past couple of nights. He's been involved in some wrecks in this series, and he's almost been there for good finishes, top 5s, top 10s, to really put himself into this top 10 in the point standings, but he hasn't been able to do so just yet. He's really hasn't had the luck on his side, but if he can get that tonight, that'll be a really good showing for that 95 team. And Here comes Keaton Jones. He's going to lead lap number 20. He continues to lead with Nick Miller to the back bumper of him. And now approaching is that 87, the driver who's dominated this entire season. Blaze McKinney with the eyes peeking at both of them.
Yeah, we saw him have an early exit in the LWRC Cup Series earlier today. A lap number 1 wreck unfortunately took him out, but blocking for the race lead to the inside was the 88 of Nick Miller, but the 62 will shut the door on him, cut him off, but that's going to give the 88 just another run down the front straightaway.
It's one thing to reach to their back bumper, and it's another thing to make the pass, especially when it comes down to the race lead. Nick Miller has been past couple of times, but now we've got a yellow on the race. That halts that progress with the 88. As we'll try to see what happened behind them. We have some contact. Looking at Andy McDowell, don't think he was involved. Try to find the guilty party this time around. Have some drivers with some connection issues, so it's kind of hard to see who's been involved. Don't see too much damage to some drivers. Not sure. I think we're just trying to find out what happened here. It's happened to us a couple of times especially with larger fields, where we've had a little bit of trouble trying to find out who's did what and kind of how the caution began. I think we have some contact with the 47 of Preston Cope. Not sure if that's related, but I think we'll just have to check out and see. But that 88 who was trying to make a, he now has to reset and do it all over again next time around.
And I'm not sure. I'm trying to look above the track here. I don't see this car roll by. I don't see any smoke. That might just be because I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, it's hard to really tell, especially with that large air shot. And sometimes iRacing doesn't really allow us to capture the wrecks too well sometimes. But we'll just try to see what happens. You're on board with Keaton Jones and field, except for Aaron Mulrooney and a handful of other drivers staying off of pit road. So Aaron Mulrooney stays out. The rest of the field comes in.
In he goes. A bit of a strategy call here for Aaron Mulrooney. Pitted under that last yellow flag. I don't think that was the yellow one of the first yellow flags. He did go in to the pits is what I'm saying here. And also Eli O'Quinn staying out, trying to get up front here. But Keaton Jones leads him down the pit road. We'll see who wins the race off.
Yeah, here they come. You see Connor Brannon, who's fallen just a little bit short down the field. He goes down to pit road as well. Stands with Keaton Jones. He takes first off of pit road. Nick Miller off second. Parker White sneaks into third. He beat Blaze McKinney on that time around. And Blaze McKinney will have to come back through fourth. He's now starting fourth, a couple of drivers behind them. But Keaton Jones, another proximity driver, he wins the race off of pit road. But now a couple of drivers stayed out. He has a little more work to do to get around there and lead some laps. And especially if you lead a lap, that counts for 1 point. So each point matters for that 62. He's 23rd in points.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned last caution some of the real life races that we have in here. I just want to comment on that. We do have one of my favorite things about iRacing is the real life racers that we have in here, and you know, not like top level racing, but a lot of these guys are local racers, and that's what I really like to get in touch. You mentioned Aaron Mulrooney in that 2-car races legends. To my knowledge, the 69 of Jackson Menchie races go-karts. He's a go-kart racer in real life. Henry Tabor races quarter midgets, I believe.
Yeah.
Around really short ovals. And
Kelan Belsha races go-karts.
Oh yeah. So yeah. That's one of my favorite things about iRacing is just getting in touch with these real life drivers, real life local drivers, I should say. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a nice mix between some of the drivers who are actual drivers in real life and choose to translate their talents to iRacing, and it's a lot of fun for them to some of the cars that they haven't gotten the opportunity to in real life just yet. You know, the climbing up through the ranks, you know, as tough as it is to get through those ranks, and it's a really hard process that I really respect a lot of people for, especially those guys who race in real life and put that money and their effort into trying to make a career to try to get to series like the NASCAR Cup Series and like the Premier NASCAR Series, or maybe other series like IndyCar, Formula One, a handful of other drivers, maybe even Rallycross if they're into it, if they're good at that, you know, they want to do that for a living. So it's a nice thing that iRacing does to kind of bridge the gap in, you know, between the real life drivers and drivers who just want to do sim racing, and especially real drivers in real life. We have had NASCAR drivers, IndyCar drivers, Formula One drivers use this service often. So, you know, it can really, sometimes I know that if you get into a race, you know how good it feels when you're with a real driver in a real iRacing session. So iRacing does a really good job of kind of closing those two groups together, you know?
Yeah, and not just four-wheel drivers. We also have a two-wheel driver. Brody Garner races motocross at local tracks, and that just kind of shows the diversity of motorsport that some of these guys race locally.
Yeah, it is. We have another question down in the YouTube. My friend Evan Garcia asked, who is your inspiration for commentating? Well, we've answered this question a while back before, but of course I'm going to answer it again because obvious reasons. I've taken a lot of cues from Alan Bestwick. He's been one of my favorite commentators, practically my favorite commentator. You know, I've tried to, take some from even commentators who aren't even part of motorsport. You know, Kevin Harlan, one of those people. He commentates NBA events. You know, he's one of my main inspirations as well. And most recently in the sim racing side of things, we have James Pike from Podium Esports. I love James Pike. He's a phenomenal talent, and he's done a really good job of pretty much putting on the show for Podium, and as well putting on the show for the iRacing Sports Network when they do the eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series events. So he continues to remain in that field, and it's a lot of fun, and I love those guys. Those guys really give me the inspiration to do what I'm doing right now. Charlie, who do you think is your inspiration?
Yeah, I have to agree with you on Alan Bestwick. I've watched him a lot growing up, and he's probably the commentator that I think first. That I think of first when I think of commentators that I listened to growing up, and throughout the 2005 to 2016 Cup Series seasons, he was really the voice of NASCAR, and I take a lot of inspiration to him. I love his legendary quotes and all that. So yeah, he's probably one of my favorites for sure. Also Ken Squire, and Ken Squire was an old NASCAR commentator for CBS, known for his also legendary quotes. So yeah, lots of commentators on the bigger stages of NASCAR, but like you said, some of the iRacing commentators like James Pike, all those guys at Podium Esports, and one of my favorite things about that is how easy it is to get into the commentating. I know you want to do this for a living, Kenneth, and it's pretty cool how easy it is to get into the commentating business. Yeah.
Yeah, Ken Squire is a good choice. I like Ken Squire. He's one of the more classic voices of NASCAR in the earlier days. On Alan Bestwick with his stint at NBC and his lasting stint with ESPN until just about 2014 when the contract expired, and he still works for ESPN. He does a little UConn basketball recently before the pandemic struck everything, and that's what he was doing before. He's covered a handful of sports, college football among some of the other sports that I've seen him commentate, so that's a lot of fun. He's a great talent, and I'd love to talk with him or meet with him, time in the inspiration. He's a huge inspiration to both of us. But right now, we are ready to go back green with Eli O'Quinn, Aaron Maroney on the front row. Aaron Maroney stayed out. Also, the 019 stayed out as well, but we got the green flag and all the drivers on the fresh urging to get the lead.
Yeah, and taking advantage, Eli O'Quinn did not get the start that he wanted, and Aaron Maroney got a pretty big jump until all the way to the inside. Almost 3 wide goes Blaze McKinney in that 87 car. He's clawing for every position, trying to get around the guys with the older tires. A gaggle of cars back here. Here comes Jackson Minshew on the outside of the 87.
Handful of drivers here. The 29 in there as well. Connor Brandon is there on the out.
We got another yellow flag on the racetrack.
Yeah, another yellow on the racetrack triggered by, we're going to try and figure out who it was triggered by. Who was the guilty party on this end? Not sure. And there it is, actually, Dane Cruz in the 46. He goes around with significant damage to the front end. You have another driver up there as well. I couldn't quite see who the number was, who that driver was involved, but we're going to try to get replay. Hard into the outside wall goes the 46. Oh boy, that's a tough replay.
We're going to see here, the back end just started to step out off at the corner. Got caught up in the outside wall, and car just hooked a left on it and got the inside wall pretty good. It's a shame for him. Unfortunately, the replay cut out there, but that's all we can show you there.
It's enough to show you that the 46 was involved in that, and that's the one that triggered the yellow on lap number 28. So early we've had a handful, I believe just 3 cautions we've had tonight. all of these early in this running. I don't think we have any drivers down pit road just yet. We still have the drivers that stayed out, Aaron Mulrooney, Eli O'Quinn, those drivers. Eli O'Quinn fell back a couple of spots. Of course, I mentioned at the top of the show how much those fresh tires mean at tracks like this. And at the 1.5 milers, it's really evident that you see when the drivers on the fresh tires approach the drivers with the older tires, it really makes a difference. You see how much faster the drivers on fresh tires are and how much they can really pull away from the guys on the older tires until they even out just a little bit. And then you can really start to see a little bit of a different strategy when it comes to how the drivers interact with each other. But Aaron Mulrooney on those older tires, he stayed out. He's currently second. He only fell down one spot, and that spot was the race lead. We saw the battle with Connor Brannon. There was JJ Hill, a handful of drivers in the mix, as well as 69 of Jackson Menchu. Those drivers battling. Connor Brannon still on the road to get back to the front where he started. So he's got a little more work to do here on his side of things, but his proximity teammate currently making the best of what it is. Keaton Jones still trying to get into that top 10 point standings with a good run here tonight.
But now Mulrooney didn't lose a lot. I know he didn't get a lap in that run, but he just only fell back to second place with that jump that he got on the restart. So he's holding his ground a little bit. And just inside the top 10 is Connor Brannon. We saw him get shuffled out from the race lead early on in the race. He's trying to get a little bit of a rebound going, sitting at the top 10 position. So he's working on it. He's working on getting to the front, and I can assure you that we'll see him at the end. I've raced with him before in the Ice Car Trace Shoulders Photography Cup Series, where he took his win at Indianapolis. That was a really fun race. I had a lot of fun there. So he knows his way to victory lane with some of the best.
Yeah, he does. Connor Brannon, also another good sim racing. He's pretty much shown himself out in Ice Car as well. He's picked up a couple wins in the Cup Series the last winter, I believe, or just earlier in the spring when that Ice Car season ended. He was the driver that picked. I know he picked up a win at Indianapolis over there on that side. So he also won Darlington Trucks as well in the playoffs. So he's been able to muster good finishes and good wins while we're at on that side of things. But here he's been able to put himself on the board as one of the highlighted drivers tonight on the Proximity Racing team. And a driver right in front of him is Caden Atkins, and the 20 Performance Motorsport driver has now breached into this top 10. Alongside, right in front of him is his Peak Performance teammate of Blaze McKinney. And Caden Atkins has showed up. I believe he's made his first start at Iowa, and he's making his second start tonight in this series, if I'm not mistaken. So a nice Canadian color scheme there. It's not an American patriotic scheme, but still patriotic scheme regardless.
Yeah, we have two Canadian drivers in the field tonight. Him and the 77 of Curtis Granger are both from Canada, to my knowledge. But yeah, we respect those above the border. But yeah, obviously showing for patriotism for their own countries.
Yeah, for sure. That's a lot of fun to see. And you're looking behind Connor Brannon, the 08 of who I mentioned was in the top 10 of the standings. He is a member of Instagram Buds Racing. I was in contact with his scheme designer tonight. That was Shane DiMantova, who put up the scheme for him tonight. Of course, Shane is also racing here at Charlotte. He still hasn't breached into the top 10 just yet, but he's trying to make the best of it, and he designed that scheme for JJ Hill. You see him with a little bit of meeting with the 51 there. Just a good run for him so far. And drivers in the top 10, I want to ask, if you're in the top 10 right now, I see a couple of drivers who's in this top 10 standings. You're looking at Curtis Granger, who's now 2 laps down. You see Kelan Belsha, JJ Hill, Keaton Jones, who's trying to work himself into that top 10. You see, I believe Ryan Potter's in there as well. Those drivers really need to make up a lot of spots if they want to get up in this point standings. You see the 77 there, and I think right behind him was that 99. So, it could be tough. It could be tough for those drivers. What kind of mindset do you have to have?
Yeah, and I think we're still early in this race, and you still want to be conservative and just keep your car clean. And that's really the goal here. And Charlotte is such a tight racetrack at the corners. Surprisingly, you see, it looks like a lot of room, but in those corners, those bottom 2 lanes are just the way to go. And I think you really want to approach in a conservative manner. And really, the goal, like I said earlier in pre-race, just keep your car clean to the end.
you do. We have another Ask KBRN statement question from iKurt67. Asks, good job to the both of us, so thank you. And asks, do you guys have a donate button? Well, we don't necessarily have a donate button on YouTube. I don't think I've been able to configure that because really never thought we'd get donations on our end. But if you want to donate to what we do here at the KBRN Racing Network, you could always use those inquiries, and you can add K101748 on Discord, a hashtag number of 1629. That's the first time we've ever gotten that question before, to be honest. So kind of caught us off guard a little bit, but of course we appreciate your support here at the K1 Racing Network. Every viewer, every comment, every Ask KBRN question means the world to us, and it really helps us a lot when we're under these caution laps trying to get situated and trying to get to that green flag as soon as possible. But speaking of the green flag, we have the 1 to green signal by the race officials. Keaton Jones, Aaron Maroon, Nicky Miller being the top 3 tonight. And, I think they're running a single file restart this time around because they're not doubling up. So I think the cautions may have triggered that. So we'll just see what happens. So they'll start single file, but regardless, the drivers behind will try to itch at that first place spot, including Nicky Miller, who's been trying to fight for that lead early before that caution came out. Green flag back in the air. The 62 of Keaton Jones with a huge run to the start-finish line. He leads lap number 33. We're back.
Almost a quarter of a straightaway ahead of the 2 car. And here comes Nick Miller down at the inside, trying to get that second place. Also, Eli O'Quinn, a name we haven't seen up front, really under the green flag, currently sitting 4th with Parker White behind him. That'll round out your top 5 on the restart.
Yeah, Hunter Ellis, Eli O'Quinn, excuse me. He was one of the drivers on the old stayed out. I think that caution really helped who stayed out. That was Aaron Marooney and the 019. Did not pit on the last yellow, and I think they're kind of keeping their footing for now. We saw a bunch of battling behind these drivers in the main pack. I think we almost saw 3 wide. A lot of drivers stacking up together. There's Caden Atkins. There's JJ Hill, the 51 in there as well. The number 1 Mobile One Racing Mustang is in there as well. You have a couple of drivers making some moves, and drivers trying to peek into this top 10 for the first time tonight.
Yeah, and JJ Hill ran up front in the top 3, which was surprising. But here comes Caden Atkins trying to knock on the door into a top 10 finish. He's a good racer. I've raced with him a lot, and he knows his way around, especially the victory. But 3 wide, almost for 7th place.
Yeah, Blaze McKinney and Connor Brannon, those 2 drivers have been trying to get around the 055. That's Brianna Lavin in the Ford Mustang Coca-Cola machine, and Jackson Menchu in the 59 Camaro Z01 1LE. These 2 drivers have been strong. They've been trying to muster their way to the top 5, and they haven't done so yet. They had a little bit of struggles getting between these drivers, but Connor Brandon and Blaze McKinney looking for those positions right now down the front straightaway.
Yeah, Connor Brandon has the newest tires out of anyone in the top 10 right now. He's using those fresh tires to his advantage, trying to get around the outside of Jackson Menchu, first-time racer here once again. And almost contacted that back bumper, but he's going to get the outside of him with help from Blaze McKinney behind him.
Those fresh tires mean everything for that 92 and early run. Looking to the outside of the 69 of Jackson Menchu, trying to pin him down to the white, blue, and white line at the bottom of the racetrack near the apron. He's going to take the position as they cross the line, and a couple guys spreading out. But I wanted to talk about that pack that we were looking at with Caden Atkins. I think behind them, I saw Glenn Bundren, who was there in his patriotic scheme tonight, and he's in the mix with a couple of those other drivers, starting with the 1 car. Those drivers working together. Glenn Bundren, you see, I believe those are 2 Dale Jr. looking paint schemes. I think 3 Dale Jr. paint schemes all together. Mountain Dew schemes right there. I think paying a tribute, and those guys having the same scheme. I believe AJ Bain is one of those. They're through the tri-oval in the front there. He gets a little bit loose. He's able to keep it straight, but Glenn Bundren, pretty good run right now. He had a little bit of a good run in the LWRC Cup Series. He's looking for a good run as the owner of the league. But we got a battle for the race lead. Nick Miller to the back bumper of Keaton Jones once again. And
he's closing that gap. The gap was about a half second in front, but look at the inside, almost to that quarter panel. That was close there off of turn number 4, but to the inside for the race lead. Also in the 3rd place goes Parker White past Aaron Mulrooney. But for the race lead goes Nick Miller out in front. These 2 guys have a lot of experience racing against each other, and I would expect them to race no different than before. Lots of clean racing between these 2 in the past. So still battling for the race lead, about side by side for an entire lap.
Yeah, they've been side by side that entire time down. White's 3rd, so he could look if these guys tangle up, but I don't think they will. They've been experienced enough around each other to determine where they are on the racetrack and race very cleanly. And I think I was just thinking about where Nick Miller has standed here at Charlotte in the iScar Cup Series. I believe he was the winner at Charlotte in the Cup cars when he ran Miller Motorsports before obviously joining SPG, the Evo Sim Sport division. But right now he is working to the bottom of the racetrack. Still a hard battle for first place. And is still to the bottom of the racetrack. He's pinned him down and almost contact between the two, but they're going to stay side by side. Turn 4.
Yeah, Nick Miller, like you said, has some experience in victory lane Cup cars at Charlotte here. Came close to a victory in the iScar Chase Photography Cup Series here, but it did win the Red Line Racing League. That's kind of an old racing league name there. I'm not sure if they're still in business, but and into the outside wall gets a 62 car, and
Kenan
into the
Jones.
inside wall. He's gonna go around on the back straightaway. Will that bring out a caution? It does. And from second place, Keaton Jones is all banged up there.
The driver who needed all the points to get in now receives a dent in his running for the playoffs in these final 3 races. Hard into the inside wall, gets a couple of damage. From that, he hit the wall off of turn 2. That was enough to send him down the racetrack. We'll take a replay, see what happened. He was battling with Nick Miller to the outside. I think he was a little too high on the racetrack, and that cost him. Hit the wall to the outside, swerved down to the bottom, hard hit to the inside wall on the driver's side. He goes around, back up the racetrack. That's what triggers the yellow. If he would have stayed on the apron, they wouldn't have called the yellow there. But, boy, tough break for Keaton Jones. That is not what you want to see.
Yeah, that's just tough. And Nick Miller did make the pass off of the corner, but just unfortunately, those old tires and that dirty air just got the best of him. We're on board with Nick Miller there and just took a pretty hard hit into the inside wall.
So a run for Keaton Jones was looking good, and now it goes south. Nick Miller, meanwhile, leads the drivers down pit road. Parker White now files into second. I think Connor Brannon slipped into third from that yellow. And I think we have a couple of drivers down pit road. And I think we have a little update down in the chat by Side Drafting Production. It says there was a crash under yellow. We might have to take a look and see what happened there. I'm not sure who might have involved. It says Dobson was involved from his sources. So I think we should take a replay and see what exactly happened with the Metallica car of Sean Dobson as Nick Miller leads the rest of the field down pit road with Parker White second, Connor Brannon third.
And we'll take a look at that incident in a second, but Nick Miller does win the race off of pit road, and up front, looks like Curtis Granger and Ryan Potter stayed out. Those 2 Veg Esports cars in a good spot here, looking to get their lap back, I guess. Currently placed first right now. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that paint scheme, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that replay with Sean Dobson. I guess he got into a bit of trouble under caution.
Yeah, of course. Sean Dobson got into. He was scored 26 on the racetrack right now, and I think.
What number is he?
I believe he's the 040 in the Metallica car.
Alright, so this is down the back straightaway. This might have been under the yellow. Well, we'll go ahead and speed it up here.
I think by the back straightaway, Keaton Jones should be under the apron. There he is. I think this is now under yellow once the yellow lights have flickered. And the driver's starting to slow down, and Sean Dobson working his way around. It looked harmless from there. I think we'll just see. I'm not sure. It might have involved the driver behind him. Oh boy, that was a huge pileup. That's Shane DiManto involved in there as well. A handful of drivers. I don't think Sean Dobson was the cause for that. There was a lot of drivers. Yeah, he just piled into there. Keaton Jones as well. Boy, that was odd.
Yeah, it looks like they were just slowing up, but the 62 car, that's bizarre. 62 car, I don't think he got his faster pair. No, he doesn't have his faster pair at this point. Just plows into that. Luckily, he still has a faster pair left, and he must have went in and got it.
Wow. I don't think he was expecting those drivers to slow down the way they did. He was probably just catching up to his position, because when you crash, when you're involved in an incident and when the field is trying to pass you, that freezes the field. So you have to work yourself back up to the position where you were, even if you have damage pit road. You have to go back to that position because that's where they scored you when the caution comes out. So I think that's what Keaton Jones is trying to do, trying to go to the outside, and then everyone just brake checks, pretty much slows down dramatically into turn 3, and then that's where the caution, you know, the more wreckage happened with the 20 of Shane DiMantova, Shaw Johnson, and of course Keaton Jones. Of course, no other drivers were involved in that incident, thankfully. So, but a rough night for Shane DiMantova. He was running cleanly until hello. That's really not what you want to see if you're that driver. But we got another Ask KBRN question from the man who brought us that information. He asks, dark horse pick for the win. I know we've had some dominant drivers here tonight. Charlie, who are you looking for as a dark horse?
Well, he hasn't really found his way up to the front, but I know he's a really experienced driver, and he was my teammate in the past, but he did find himself into the top 5. I'm going to have to go with that 018 car of Dylan Basin. Currently sitting 12th on the racetrack, just outside the top 5, but did crack the top 5, I believe, but of course he just didn't find his way up to the point. He's a young racer. I believe he's just 13 years old. He's been my teammate in the past, so I think he can have a shot at it.
Dylan Basin started up near the front of the field in those early running. Fell back just a little bit, especially further down the order, but he's had a pretty good race tonight. He's kept his car clean, and of course with just about halfway left in this race still left to go, you know, you still can muster, you know, can still have that strategy or have, you know, the better car over the course of the run as soon as you make adjustments and what have you to make a good running for the race win tonight. I think the one I'm looking at, even though my predictions never go right on this channel, I think I'm going to go with the 95 of Parker White. I really don't want to say this because I know that it could jinx at some point, and Parker White has not had the best luck this season, but, you know, Parker White has been so consistent, so strong, it's so competitive with the guys, especially up front, and he has been in the best positions to pretty much grab wins and put himself up in the point standings and have a really strong contention for the championship this year, but he hasn't had the best of luck. He's currently in 3rd right now. He'll restart on the inside of row 2. He's not pretty much of a dark horse considering that he's not too far down the, but considering his luck this season, I think he picks up a checker flag tonight.
Yeah, and we're starting to see these bigger names start to return up to the front. Connor Brennan, who has had a successful rebound, currently sitting right outside the leader here. Also Aaron Mulroney back up to the front. Caden Atkins, Blaze McKinney also there as well. And I just want to mention that these guys are now on the most equal playing field that we've had since the start of the green flag. These guys, the entire field pitted under that caution. Everyone in this field is on 4 fresh tires. They're all going to have an equal shot, all equal race cars. So yeah, we're going to see this racing. I hope we see the racing that we saw at the drop of the green flag.
So here we go. Connor Brennan, Nick Miller, field to the green flag. Parker White, Aaron Mulroney Jr. in row 2. Caden Atkins and PPM teammate Blaze McKinney fouls out row 3. The green flag comes out. Nick Miller leads. Another good start for that number 88 Chevrolet Camaro.
And I think the leader of these restarts has really gotten themselves a good jump here as Connor Brennan tucks right in front of the 29P Performance Motorsports car of Caden Atkins here. Mulroney tucks in right behind him, but to the inside goes Blaze McKinney. These two have a bit of history, the 2 and the 87, but almost blocking down the racetrack goes the 27 car of Caden Atkins.
Aaron Mulroney still has not pit yet, so he is still working on those older tires and now under pressure. Performance Motorsports driver, the 29 of Caden Atkins got the best of him, now on a battle with the 87, and the 51 also looking to gain that position under as well while he's at it. But right now we're looking at the top 3. Nick Miller still with a prominent lead. Parker White moves into 2nd, Connor Brennan in 3rd. Caden Atkins trying to look for 3rd from the 92.
Just to correct you there, Aaron Mulroney is on the equal tire strategy of all these other guys, just one lap over than everyone else, but no problem there. But Connor Brennan up to the back door for the 95 Toyota Camry of Parker White, getting inching closer and closer. Will he make the move down the back straight? We got a yellow flag on the racetrack once again.
Another yellow involving, we're trying to find out who is involved in that as well, and I think a couple of drivers there. Everybody's slowing down. No drivers with significant damage from what I've seen. Maybe they've already towed their race car, went down pit road to get that damage fixed, and we'll just try to get the replay for you. It's been tough to do that so far, but regardless, we're going to try our best to give you the coverage of what exactly triggered this yellow flag. We'll take the replay, see what happened. I saw Curtis Granger under the apron slow, so I'm not sure whether that was just that might have been part of something, or maybe it was just letting the leaders by, since he's a handful of laps down on the racetrack. So I don't think he was a factor in what happened here. So as soon as the yellow came out, I think that's when everyone started slowing down.
Sure,
I don't see any contact.
I think we're looking at the entire pack here. I don't know if Mr. Side Jeffing could actually give us more information on that, but I guess we can. I don't know.
Yeah, we were able to catch one of the last cautions with Dane Cruz went around. Or when Keaton Jones went around, he was at the front of the field. So, but we have a driver down there. I think that is the 040. I couldn't really see it from the camera angle there, but I think he might have had service. But I think that was because of the caution, the wreck that happened under the yellow flag. So that might have been damage from that. That had to have been damage from that because that was a hard hit for him under that yellow flag. So we'll try to give you a replay, kind of a replay, and see what happened there. Well, it seems Sign Drafting Productions has throughputed through the session, so can't really give us some more information there. So another clue, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, that's just that's weird. That's odd.
Well, there's Dylan Barker down pit road.
He must be just getting service under that yellow flag. We see the 018 car of Dylan Basin also down there as well, getting those 4 fresh tires and exiting the pit lane. Dylan Basin, my dark horse pick there. Getting those 4 fresh tires, he'll have the advantage on the restart.
Yeah, he'll have those fresher tires, and like I mentioned, I made the mistake saying that Aaron Mulrooney field with these guys up front. So, but he did lose that spot. He lost both those spots to the PPM drivers of Caden Atkins and Blaze McKinney. So he's fallen back a couple of positions. Not too bad there for the 2 team. They could just hit the reset button next time around, especially with the yellows, and try to work themselves back up. And we'll see whether these drivers take down pit road once more, whether the leader and everyone else follows through. And we'll see through this point of the race, you start to see a lot more drivers make more strategy calls, especially down the road. When you start getting to the later stages of the race, you see some drivers start to split a little more, because maybe early in the run you want to keep your car clean. You don't really want to make any risky moves in the fuel strategy, especially if you're with the guys near the mid pack of the race. Even if you're in the mid pack and a little farther back from the leaders, you want to just stay with them and make the same moves they do at that time. But then as soon as we reach this halfway point and we start to get to the deeper portions of the race, all the way to lap 100, we'll probably start to see more drivers take down pit road and more drivers stay out. So we'll have kind of a 50-50 split, maybe different types of splits between the leaders and the guys behind, and that's where the strategy really plays into effect. Remember, these guys can't make it all the way on gas, but of course they've already made some stops, so that helps them a little bit. But I think green flag runs really show out the most, and we really haven't seen that too much tonight.
Yeah, just another note, Connor Brennan, who was running up there, is currently just fell 2 laps down on the racetrack. I guess he might have disconnected on his zone under that last caution. So, fortunate for him, he was running up front.
So under caution, lap number 52, we've reached the halfway point of the race. And with that, we're going to take an opportunity to step aside. You're watching the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series, round number 7 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway in Charlotte, North Carolina. And you're watching the Kenneth Bueno Racing Network. Bundren Lawn Care Series coverage from K1 Racing Network. iRacing, join thousands of sim racers across the globe in many disciplines. And Eel Media, get your graphic design done. Just hit up eel.media on Instagram. And buy Supermix concrete blocks on demand. Another caution through the halfway point of this event. About 50 or 56 laps completed with Nick Miller in the race lead. We have word that Jonathan Jones was into some trouble at the last caution. We'll see what happened with there. But right now we're looking at a green flag restart with Nick Miller at the front of the field. He leads the field back to...
And shuffling a lot in the back, you see Jonathan Jones taking him 3 wide down the front straightaway. We haven't really seen the back of the pack under the green flag, but I'm assuming this is what it's been like all race. Lots of guys trying to get the jump on each other. But Caden Atkins currently sitting second. First time we've seen him up in the top 3 fighting. And he can try to make a pass for the race lead.
Yeah, he's looked to those top 3 in the last couple of yellows. He's been able... Parker White peeking into third. And you find Aaron Mulrooney, Blaze McKinney fighting for a spot. We got another yellow on the racetrack, lap 55. We'll see who that's involved. I think Henry Tabor might be one of those drivers who was involved in there. He's pretty much pancake side, right side of that race car. We'll take a replay, see what happened there. Oh my goodness, hard hit by James Youngerman. Sends down the racetrack, involves, I believe, Kelan Belsha was involved in there as well. And Shane Tova, Dylan Parker. Oh boy, that was a tough run for those drivers. Hard into the wall goes the 80. Damage to Shane DiMantova's machine. Dylan Parker was involved as well. Kelan Belsha just had nowhere to go. And now we've been able to cover that yellow. Boy, hard hit for that 80.
Yeah, and the 3 car was just really aggressive and made a move to the inside of that 20 car and just kind of turned him around, I guess. A lot of those cars scrambling to avoid James Youngman with another hard hit. Unfortunate for that 20 car. He was, I don't think we really saw him into the top 10, but was in a decent spot.
Those drivers were filing 3 wide. Those drivers were shuffling together on that last restart, and I think that was just the case. And the 3 was just trying to dig low on the 20. There just wasn't enough space there, and that sends the 20 into James Youngerman, sending him up the outside wall. Then rocketing down the racetrack, ricocheting back down to Kelan Belsha. Those drivers involved. And I think we have word that Dane Cruz has slammed the pit barrels. Dane Cruz was involved in an earlier incident straight away. So you see more damage. He kind of looks like a modified out there.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. What was that by the 46 of Dane Cruz? Not sure whether that was intentional or whether he was just kind of messing around there. I think he just straight up binned it. He did. And then he gets hit by Dylan Parker, who was involved in that last wreck. He sends him up into the air and back down on 4 wheels. Wow, I'm speechless.
And it looks like Caden Atkins did the same thing. Alright, well.
Well, that was tough. And meanwhile, while we were under... We had a question from the driver currently leading the race. That's a first from one of the drivers currently leading the race. After the question asks us who has the most laps led. That goes to the 62 of Keenan Jones. I believe 23 laps led. But that 88 of Nick Miller can make a case for that right now. He's currently 19 laps led. So he's almost there to that point, especially with Keenan Jones out of the race. You know, he can pass him easily with those laps led, and he'll take over that spot as we pretty much breach the halfway point of this race. Still a lot of runnings, still a lot of restarts and laps left to go. We'll take a caution summary right to the right of your screen. You'll see how many cautions came out on the racetrack. We'll bring up that overlay. 7 cautions tonight, 28 laps under the yellow flag. We've had 5 lead changes. Fastest lap of the race currently set by that proximity driver, the 92 of Connor Brand. We have 43 laps remaining till we get to lap 100 and decide the race winner. So that was those are your cautions right now here at Charlotte. We've pretty much been infamous in this series having a high cost, especially at the shorter tracks. We saw that at Richmond, we saw it in North Wilkesboro, we saw that a handful of times. As right now, it's not surprising here at Charlotte, especially with 43 drivers.
Yeah, You know, that's kind of the product of having a full field. Obviously, yeah, it's I can't nothing us broadcasters can really do about it. But all we can do is just hope for a good race. But fortunately, these cautions do breed cautions, and within the last 20 laps or so, we've had a couple cautions right next to each other, stacked up, butted up against each other. So it's tough, but we gotta sit through it, and hopefully we'll get another green flag run.
Yeah, hopefully we do. We saw the best of that green flag run over the course of the middle of the race, and that was a lot of. Hopefully those drivers continue to make that happen from now on. But we have a question by Henry Tabor himself. Does Henry Tabor have the worst luck in this series, Charlie?
Sure. You tell me, Kenneth.
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I mentioned Parker White having a lot of bad, so he's on that list as well. He's been consistent as well. Henry Tabor's been involved in a handful of incidents this series. I remember his crash at Richmond Raceway. He also had an incident there as well. He hasn't had the best season that he has wanted, so I don't know. I wouldn't say he has the worst luck, but he hasn't had the best season, if that's the best thing to say. But Nick Miller at the front of the field, that number 88 Chevrolet. Parker White behind him in the first Toyota in the field, and then you'll have another Camaro behind him, the PPM driver Blaze McKinney, who's been stealthily working back into this top 5 and the top 3. He really hasn't challenged for the race lead too much just yet, but he's been urging in there just every time a caution comes out. He's been putting himself in the best spot to make some positions when the restarts come out. Aaron Maroney still in 4th, and you'll find Glenn Bundren into the top 5. A good run for him. He's been able to get out, and he's been able to put himself in this spot right now for possibly a really good finish for that 3017, the Grassman himself and the owner of this league. And JJ Hill, Instagram Buds Racing, we've mentioned him a handful of times on the broadcast. Another good run for Instagram Buds Racing if he can get it done.
Yeah, for sure. And looks like we're getting another single file restart here. Obviously, single file restarts the restarts are changed to single file if we do have a caution within the lap that we went green on. So another caution. These cautions are really long, but we're gonna line up single file. Nick Miller is gonna lead them to the green flag, and Parker White behind him. Blaze McKinney hasn't really cracked the top 3 all race. I think he's been in the 3rd position, but not really up contending for the race lead, for that matter. He's currently sitting in 3rd. Elmer running 4th. And Glenn Bundren, another name, just cracking the top 10, or top 5, I should say. Currently sitting in 5th. That'll run at your top 5 on the restart.
Here we go, another restart with 40 laps remaining. We can see if we'll get the green flag run, but it's all dependent on what these drivers are able to do by a restart time around, rather than going 2x2 all the way down. Nick Miller will find the pace car coming off of pit road. Parker White, Blaze McKinney, Aaron Maroney, Glenn Bundren, your top 5. Green flag back out, another restart, lap number 61.
I saw a bit of a shuffling down in the back there. Yeah, that AJ Bain, the 097 car, got loose on that restart, must have spun the tires, or at least got a little help from behind. But Nick Miller, once again with a good restart, good jump on that 95 car. Blaze McKinney behind them.
Yeah, a little bit of a shuffling behind them. I saw a bit of a stack up when they're on the backstretch, still going pace speed before going green. They were able to solve that down. I saw Mitch Hobbs go down the racetrack and a couple of the drivers trying to situate themselves together. But right now, looks to be spread out between these top 5, with just about less than half a second between the top 3, with Nick Miller, Parker White, Blaze McKinney now trying to fight for the top spot, still leading the race off turn 2.
Yeah, and these laps led are really crucial for Nick Miller, because the bonus points for most laps led is 5 points, and that's really crucial if he wants to make it into the playoffs. He's currently sitting outside the cutoff, but this will be crucial for him. But fortunately, another caution on the racetrack.
Another yellow. We'll see who triggered that one and who was the guilty party on that end. I think we're going to have another troubling way of finding out who was in that yellow flag. There was huge damage to that car right there. I think it's Shane DiMantova, or no, Kelan Belsha. That might have been the incident with James Youngerman. So I'm not sure whether that was pertaining to what we just saw when the yellow flag came out. We'll just have to see. And you're mentioning Nick Miller, who needs those points to get into the top 10. He is currently 37th, tied with Dominic Curate for the point standing. So he has a lot of points to make up if he wants to get into this top 10. We'll see what happened on the caution flag. Looks to be harmless between where Shane DiMantova is. Cole Williams, who returned to the racetrack a couple laps down, but nonetheless still on the racetrack. And we're trying to find this yellow, but continues to be tough.
Hopefully we get some more help from our friend Side Drafting Productions in the chat. But I'm looking over out of the track here. I just don't see smoke.
I don't see anything either. I'm not sure. I don't see anyone pretty much down there by that time. The pit, I think, is out already. So then these drivers are starting to slow down, make way for the pace car. And there's Henry Tabor, Cole Williams. Those guys don't think we're involved.
Yeah. I don't know, Kenneth.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of reminiscent of what we saw in the street stock race for ISCAR KBRN stock tour, where we had a field limit of 35. I'm not sure same situation here. Maybe just some connection issues with some of the drivers. Really not enabled us to get the best replays and see exactly what went down. But nonetheless, the 8th caution spawned on the racetrack today, with Nick Miller still in the race lead, Parker White, Blaze McKinney. They were pretty spread out there, so we didn't see too much battling between these guys in the top 4. So we'll see what happens with that. And I think we'll see if these drivers go down pit road, get some fresh tires and fuel. Doesn't seem to be the case. They'll stay out, and we'll have those drivers stay out on the racetrack on those tires, staying on fuel. I believe they're good to the end, so they're able to. You see one driver down pit road. I believe that's a 70 car. See this though, Side Drafting Productions, we got word from him. He's being told Mitch Hobbs was sideways and he saved the race car, but then it ended up triggering the yellow regardless, and that's happened before. So I think, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, thank you to Side Drafting Productions for letting us know of these cautions that we were unable to find, unfortunately. I need to change some settings on my graphics to allow more than 25 cars to be seen. I haven't really gotten around to doing that yet, but I'll make sure to fix it after this race. So that'll be fixed for the next Bundren Lawn Care Series race. And speaking of that, make sure you tune in next week to the KBRN Kenneth Bueno Racing Network here for the Bundren Lawn Care Series. 2 races before the playoffs at Darlington. A throwback race here, and it's going to be an exciting one. That track is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we here at KBRN are very excited to do that race. We've been waiting for that race for the past couple of weeks. We've got everything set up. We wanted something a little bit special for that event, so we're going to be looking at that and having a lot of fun that time with a little bit of retro feel. So if you want to tune into that, you can tune in next week. That'll be Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I believe that's July 14th. Should be 13th. Monday, that's the 13th. That'll be the day at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on the Kenneth Bueno Racing Network. Cole Williams currently in 25th. He's 1 lap down currently. He had a little bit of issues with his game. In the middle of the race, he was running in the top 3. He started up front, and he was in the battle for the race lead with Connor Brandon, Keen Jones, and them. And then his game crashed, and he had a troublesome time there, but he was able to get back in service and session. Currently 24, so he's not out of the woods just yet. He's only... The lucky dog could get his way.
Yeah, and I think he went down about 3 or 4 laps when his game crashed, and this will be a good rebound for him. Obviously, a contender for most wins in the LWRC Cup Series, which we also broadcast on the Kenneth Bueno Racing Network. So it'll be a good rebound if he can just grab the lucky dog or a waiver on in the next caution. I believe he's the first car 1 lap down. No, that's actually Kelan Belsha right there, but no, he's on the lead lap. So yeah, that'll be a good rebound for Cole Williams. Another caution can come out, and we'll see if he can shuffle back up to the front.
Yeah, Cole Williams, if he can get that lucky dog, and especially with all the yellows. He still has time as well to get back up to the front like he was in the beginning of this race. So if he can get that lucky dog, he can be there till the end and have a little bit of a shot, have that second chance at these guys up front, which he hasn't really had the chance to as much as he probably wanted to. But if you look behind Aaron Mulrooney, you see a couple other drivers. Charlie's pick, Dylan Basin, is in there as well. You'll find the Chrome Mustang. Oh my goodness, that's a sharp looking race car with the American flag. That's the 014. That's Cole Woody. He also making his first start in this series as well. So he is currently in the inside of row 3. He'll start right there. And the first time he's been in the mix, in this front pack, the first time this race, he's been around the middle section of the field. But now that the field starts to dwindle down as we have these yellows pick up those positions, get back to the front, possibly make a move for the race win. And Brady Wheelman, who's involved in an incident, he's on the 4. So he's not completely out of this with the faster pair, and also Preston Cope behind him. We have a bunch of drivers shaking up in the 10.
Yeah, that's really what I've been seeing in the last couple races at Bundren Lawn Care and LWRC. Past the top 5, a lot of shuffling going on, but, inside the top 10, you see those dominant guys. So really haven't changed that much, but, a lot of those guys shuffling from the back to the front outside the top 5. So, yeah.
These drivers have the prime opportunity to get that real estate and put up a good finish for them and have a good points day at the end of the night here at Charlotte. It's already been a tough race. It could be a lot better, a light at the end of the tunnel if they can get a good start and a good finish out of this race. But right now, the driver who's been dominating, who's leading right now, the 88 of Nick Miller, leads them back to green with Aaron Mulrooney behind him.
And once again, the lane opposing to Nick Miller does not get a good start, and a really big jump for him. El Mulrooney behind him. Going into turn 1, Parker White shuffles back into 3rd place.
You'll find Blaze McKinney under the 018. He currently makes that pass. Cole Woody trying to make an opportunity on the racetrack. Huge pile up. That's Glenn Bundren, Kelan Belsha. Other drivers ahead. We were able to catch this one on the dot. That's Keloa Hankins, who had a rough running at Michigan near the end of the run. Almost won T1 earlier in the LWRC Cup Series. And now he gets into trouble at Charlotte. We'll try to get a replay. It was on the restart, I believe, go turn number 2. And we'll see the restart here. Good restart. It seems pretty okay from there. They were almost going 3 wide. There's Keloa Hankins making a move. And I believe, he gets to the apron, gets loose, gets into the 5. Hard contact. Boy, that was a scary hit for a couple of those drivers. Cole Williams had to get around that. Kelan Belsha, the number 5, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, AJ Bain might have been involved in that as well. Paint scheme with those 2 American flags. So on board with Kelan Belsha. Or JJ Hill.
Yeah, it looks like JJ Hill just kind of shut the door there. And on the 20 of Keola Hankins, we'll get a slow-mo replay of this. Keola Hankins just tried to get down to the inside, but JJ Hill was just not letting him have it there. Stuck the nose down there, but the 08 just didn't let him, and Ko got stuck on the apron and got turned around up the racetrack. A big wreck for some of these guys.
That was a wild hit. Look at the huge hit by Curtis Granger there and by Glenn Bundren. Mitch Hobbs gets involved in that late. He couldn't get slowed down enough. Henry Tabor to the outside wall. You see Mitch Hobbs trying to get around the 097. Down to the bottom of the racetrack, the 5 car, the Farmers machine, also involved. Cole Williams got around that as well. He was able to slow it down before getting to the scene. So he ended up okay. He gets no damage out of that, but a huge wreck. That takes out a bunch of drivers that we saw was fighting for good position there.
And you mentioned that Cole Williams completely avoided that wreck. So he's going to get the lucky dog, I believe, here, and he'll be back up and ready. It seems as if the 88 of Nick Miller sitting back there. Oh, he went in the pit road, actually.
Yeah, he's exiting pit road there, so a strategy call by the 88 team. Decided to go down pit road, get those fresh tires and fuel. He'll be good to the end of the race on fuel, but those tires will make the difference between the guys up front. So that could be a strategy call for that 88 to possibly get the advantage even though he was leading the race and he was pretty much in good command. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, strategy going on here. Obviously, Nick Miller, I've raced with him before. A strategy man for sure. He likes to opt for some different strategies. He's tried to out-strategize me before, but I came out on the tall end of the stick there. But yeah, Nick, he's gonna be on at least 30 lap fresh tires. So if he can slice through the field, if it goes under green, if he can slice through just 12 cars, he'll be back up to the front and back contending for the win. And he only has 30 laps to do so.
I think Cole Woody also pitted with the 88 of Nick Miller because he was up there behind the 88. So I think those two decided to go down pit road and get those fresh tires and fuel. I think there's the drivers behind them. Number 155, I think Glenn Bundren is there as well, who had the hard damage from the wreck. But interesting call by those drivers. And now that sets Aaron Maroney to the top of the board with Parker White still in second. Blaze McKinney still peeking into that top 3, trying to take the lead, but he hasn't had the opportunity with all these yellows.
Yeah, and Parker White and Aaron Maroney find themselves up front. Also, Blaze McKinney there, moved himself into the top 3. Obviously, points leader by over pretty much 60 points over Curtis Granger in second. So another really good points day for him if he can maintain this top 3. My dark horse pick early in the race, Dylan Basin, currently sitting in 4th, and Brady Wheelaman, who was caught up in a wreck there. A few cautions to go, currently sits 4th on the racetrack.
And then behind them, you'll see the 019 of Eli O'Quinn, who we didn't see much of this race. He's in the top 10 points as well, so if he can get a good finish out of this as well, especially with the drivers going down pit road, continue where he's at, he could be in a good position to get points. And Preston Cope as well, who's had strong runs and hasn't really shown out tonight, but with the attrition we've seen here tonight, drivers near the middle of the field and drivers who have survived, they can just gain those positions after passing all the guys in trouble. So just about 28 laps remaining until we get to the final lap of the race at lap 100. Aaron Maroney is leader after Nick Miller and Cole Woody went down pit road on a strategy call. We'll see if that pays off once they reach the green flag. But so far, still under pacing. Aaron Maroney in command right now in his first start, the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series. He's been dominant over in the ice. He's been able to outperform a good chunk of these drivers in his first start, with Parker White right behind him, Blaze McKinney in the third. And it's kind of weird not seeing Blaze McKinney leading this field, because we've seen Blaze McKinney just dominate these races, and he's always been in either first, second, third. He's always been fighting for a race lead. He's always been fighting for the race wins. He's always been up there winning races. He's in third right now, so he's not out of the woods obviously just yet, but it's kind of weird not seeing him lead laps tonight.
Yeah, it's a strange sight to see him, like you said, not up front, but he is there, definitely. He'll be there at the end if this stays green, but also you have to bring up the conversation of Nick Miller, currently sitting 12th, just outside the top 10, who got those 4 fresh tires, and we're going to see him start to slice through the field in this restart. So I don't know if he got the 1 to green signal here. I don't think so. Maybe. No, yeah, we got the 1 to green signal. Once again, a single fire restart because the caution came out within a lap of the green flag dropping. So, yeah, Maroney will hit the field with the green flag here.
Race officials get the 1 to green. That means we go one time around. We'll take the green flag. Hopefully we don't get a yellow too early in the run. Hopefully we can see a long run out of these drivers and see how, especially Nick Miller's strategy call, how that works out for him, and Cole Woody as well. Yes.
All right.
We are good. Get to the go. There's just not much to talk about here since we've seen so many yellows on the racetrack. But, I mean, if you want to catch more KBRN action, you can tune in next week, Monday, for the Bundren Lawn Care. Hopefully, we can see some longer green flags out of that. But we have green flag racing to do here Pace car comes off pit road. Mulrooney, Parker White, Blaze McKinney, Dylan Basin, top 4. Green flag back out in Charlotte.
Bundren gets the jump that he needed, but to the back bumper, the 95 goes to the 87 of Blaze McKinney. Also, Dylan Basin rounding out your top 4. So these guys are going to be under a blanket here in these laps. Here comes the 95. He's going to get a run on the back straightaway for the race lead.
There goes Blaze McKinney to the bottom of the racetrack. Almost had it blocked, but now he peeks down to the low side. He gets the position over Parker White, and he's now in reach distance of the race lead. Also, Dylan Basin possibly using that opportunity to get around. Aaron Mulrooney, Blaze McKinney continue to lead this field. Lap number 75.
Yeah, and Blaze McKinney almost made a through-ride move down the back straightaway and inching closer to the back bumper of that 2 car. These 2 guys have a little bit of history with each other. I would expect them to rough each other up a little bit, but Mulrooney still has the advantage down the back straightaway into turn number 3. But here comes Dylan Basin on the bottom, trying to knock on the door in the top 3. But to the inside, to the race lead goes the 87.
Side by side, 2 rows deep with Blaze McKinney looking for that race lead. Almost leads down. He's going to look to the bottom of the 2 going into turn 1 with preferred line to the bottom of the racetrack. He takes the race lead for the first time tonight. Give that.
And it's surprising to see how long it took for the 87 to find his way up to the front spot. But Dylan Basin to the inside of Aaron Mulrooney. Aaron Mulrooney will possibly get shuffled back here. We'll have to see. But Dylan Basin with the advantage. Will he clear him off of turn 4?
Well, we saw Parker White on the outside stuck up there. He's now has the head, and that could allow Ryan Potter and Brody Garner, those 2 drivers, trying to look into this top 5 as well. Still 2 by 2, 2 rows deep, but that's allowing that 87 of Blaze McKinney to continue with his lead that he just got right now. And Dylan Basin slips in a second over Aaron Mulrooney.
An update on that 88 car of Nick Miller. He is currently sitting 7th place, just right outside the top 5. He's going to have those new tires. We'll have to see how that stacks up against all these guys who are battling really hard on those old tires. But it's now in the hands of Dylan Basin to see if he can catch up to that 87 here. Brody Garner also up here, and so is Ryan Potter. First time we've seen him up front. Ryan Potter just inside the top 5.
And as those drivers were battling, that enabled these 2 and Nick Miller to Ryan Potter get a little bit loose there from 5. That allows the driver with tires, Nick Miller, to get up in there as well, and he can make a charge for the race lead in a couple of laps. You see another move for 3rd place. That's the 95 of Parker White under Aaron Mulrooney. Another spot lost for that 2 car, but nonetheless, he's still in the mix with Brady Williman trying to add the pressure to that 2 Toyota Camry. But up front, Blaze McKinney continues to lead this race, and the first lap's led tonight.
And Dylan Basin still trying to find a line that's faster than that 87. It comes down to tire saving, like we said. But I'm also staring back there at the 6 car. I mean, in 6th place, that 88 car of Nick Miller. Trying to get past Brody Garner. Brody Garner, first time we've seen him here up on the race. Currently sitting in the 5th spot. So it's all up to Nick Miller to make this race exciting and see if he can use those fresh tires with just over 20 laps to go here.
And this could be the strategy call that possibly gets Nick Miller on the fresh tires. He hasn't been able to get around the 55 of Brody Garner just yet, but he's been looking every single lap. And really what I'm saying is that these top drivers, especially Blaze McKinney, hasn't really been able to get probably wanted because the draft plays such a huge factor with the high downforce package that you're able to stay within the drivers in front of you, and they're not really able to make a gap as much as probably they want to get away from the rest of the field. So Dylan Basin still within reaching distance with Parker White right behind him.
And he's closed that gap quite a bit in that last lap. Went from 0.3 of a second down to 1.5 of a second. So Dylan Basin, obviously a contender for the race lead, but that doesn't put Parker White and Aaron Mulrooney out of the picture just yet. Currently sitting 3rd and 4th on the racetrack. So, yeah, like you said, these cars can't really pull away, but it is really hard to pass, especially with just 2 cars out front with the dirty air that the really big spoiler makes. So I think if you're the car out front, you're at a really big advantage because you can just run almost full throttle laps while the guys behind you have to lift and kind of manage your corner speed. So it's a lot more difficult for those guys behind them.
Over the course of that run, Parker White tried to look to the low side of Dylan. Shut the door at the right time. So Parker White stays in 3rd. Aaron Mulrooney down in 4th. Now under pressure from the back bumper. He's got Dogecoin right behind him. The 55 of Brody Garner to the inside. Almost contact between the 2. That enables the 88 to catch up to both of them as they tangle up. We got a track.
And on the racetrack, that's Mitch Hobbs spinning out right there. Also, Jonathan T. Jones in that number 1 Mobile 1 car. Caution out once again. We're going to replay that one, but this shakes up everything.
Yeah, this shakes up everything, especially with Nick Miller in the between Jonathan Jones and Mitch Hobbs. You see they were working around Cole Williams there. Cole Williams to the bottom of the racetrack. It looked okay from there, and I think right here is the contact going down the tri-oval. Maybe not. Actually, right there. Yeah, going into turn 1, hooks him to the right side, and into the wall goes the 89 of Mitch Hobbs. The 1 also involved as well. Luckily, no one else was able to. Yeah.
Kelan Hankins just barely got by that one. Another good wreck avoidance there. He got his fastest pair in that last caution. But I'm interested to see will these guys go in for pit stops.
Yeah, especially with a couple drivers up front. And if these drivers pit, Nick Miller has the strategy advantage not too long ago, so he's able to stay out on this run. We'll see if they go down pit. They look to. They'll see if they fake. Everyone goes down pit road, and Nick Miller also follows with. Surprising to see him not staying out there. But all the drivers coming in for fresh tires and fuel.
And pretty much this entire field is coming in for fresh tires. Maybe besides Eli O'Quinn. I believe he's the only car who stayed out. Also Cole Woody and Zachary Vakari stayed out under the yellow, or stayed out there. But it's gonna be interesting to see the race off of pit road, because if those guys do stay out on the racetrack for sure, these guys are gonna have to cut through them. And if I'm Nick Miller and I'm on those new tires, I would just take 2 right sides, and it looks like he did.
Yeah.
Nick Miller took 2 right side tires onto that pit stop because he doesn't necessarily need to change all 4, because he only has split the run in half between those guys. So good call by Nick Miller. I think that's gonna work for him.
You called it perfectly there. 2 tires stop for Nick Miller. He takes advantage of that, and he takes the race lead off pit road. I saw Parker White file right behind him, and
Glenn Bundren.
Yep. Yeah, Glenn Bundren off of pit road as well.
2 tire pit stop for him as well, sitting right in front of Blaze McKinney, and Blaze McKinney lost a position to Parker White as well. So lots of shuffling in there that pit stop.
Yeah, shuffling with Glenn Bundren. He got into the incident early with, I believe, James Youngman and Glenn Bundren. So he has that faster pair, so he's able to get back with a fresh race car this time around. But they have to get around the drivers who stayed out, including Cole Woody, Zachary Vakari, the 019 of Eli O'Quinn. Those drivers will be the top 3 once we get back to green flag racing. They didn't go down pit road this time, so that means they are confirmed staying out on the racetrack. The drivers fall back a little bit through the field, and this is their opportunity to stay up front for as long as they can, especially when these cautions come out. When you're up front on the older tires, even if you're on the older if you have short green flag runs, you could possibly maybe not lose as many, or you could, if you lose any, you probably lose minimal, and then a caution comes out. So then you can stay there and conserve as much as you can to the end of the race.
Yeah, and this is going to be a really interesting stretch to the finish, because we got 3 guys who stayed out. Cole Woody pitted 16 laps ago, Zachary Vakari pitted 14 laps ago, and Eli O'Quinn pit 30 laps ago. So they're going to stand up against these guys who pitted under that yellow flag. And I wouldn't be surprised if these guys just slice right through them. But it's going to be an interesting just over 10 lap dash to the finish.
It is, and we saw a little peek at what a green flag run looks like on the run. We finally didn't get a caution too early in the run. We had a couple to see what these drivers were able to do, and we saw the 2 of Aaron Maroney lose a handful of spots, so he's fallen back just a little bit, but not sure where he ended up off of pit road. If we can get an update on that, see where he was. Aaron Maroney in the number 2 car.
Maroney currently sitting 8th, right behind Blaze McKinney.
All right, so he didn't lose too many spots there, but of course Glenn Bundren staying out. Not Glenn Bundren staying out. Glenn Bundren taking the 2 top, pretty much going over all of these guys. He's falling back just a little bit now with Brody Garner and Dylan Basin, who's up front as well. Behind them, then you see Brianna Lavin, Cole Williams. 2 of those drivers are from LWRC that they raced earlier today at Homestead, and those drivers looking for good finishes. Kilo Hankins with the faster pair now behind, so he's not out of the woods just yet. Then you got the 6 car behind them, and boy, how much this field has cut through with these cautions coming out. It really shows the drivers that are surviving and the drivers that don't have the best luck and kind of get into trouble throughout this race. So I believe we've got 2 to green. We'll take the green flag, I believe, around lap number 80. With just about 11 laps remaining in this race, this will be the final stint to the race ending at lap 100. And of course, if we get to 3 laps to go, 2 laps to go, and we get a caution out on the racetrack, that'll enable a green-white checkered. So we'll take 3 attempts of those. And when they take the green flag or green-white checker, you take the green flag with 2 laps to go. Try to find your way to the white flag. And of course, after the white flag is displayed, any flag ends the race. So if a caution comes out, that'll be the final ending. That'll freeze the field. Driver in the front wins the race. And if we can't do that, we'll take 2 or more opportunities to do so. And then after those 3 attempts, if we surpass that, any flag will end the race, and we'll end under yellow or under green. We'll see what happens there. But we still got a little bit of racing to go. We had our dark horse picks earlier in the race, and when we got that in the YouTube chat, my pick is currently behind Nick Miller. Your pick is a little farther back behind Brody Garner. We could see a little bit of shuffling between those guys. They've been strong.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, or like I mentioned earlier, all these guys behind those guys who took the 2 tire strategies, they're all on an equal playing field. They all took 4 tires, so it's just a matter of getting around these 3 lapped cars of Cole Woody, Zach Vicari, and I believe that's Eli O'Quinn. Yeah, that's him. It's just a matter of getting behind him, and I won't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they get roughed up a bit trying to pass them, because lap cars can be pretty stubborn sometimes.
Yeah, we've seen that happen before in real life, as well as on the sim racing side of things. Lap cars could affect on those guys on the lead lap, but they'll double up. No single file restart this time. A double file with the caution coming out way after the restart. So we'll go double file once again with the 014. Cole Woody in the Chrome Ford Mustang. The 70 of Zachary Vicari will lead the outside lane. Then goes Eli O'Quinn, Parker White, and goes Nick Miller. Of course, you'll find the drivers behind them, Blaze McKinney, Aaron Maroney, those notable drivers that'll be up front on, especially battling with these guys with the older tires. So we'll see how much that affects the run, possibly to the end of the race. So base car will line up off turn number 4. It'll dip down to the pit road, and Cole Woody, Zachary Vicari lead the field of green. Ford Mustang, Toyota Camry on what could be the final stint of the race.
Now Parker White's going to slide down in front of Nick Miller. That's not what he wanted to see, and so does Blaze McKinney. These guys, all these guys are going to be neck and neck, but Parker White currently has the advantage out of the fresh tire guys. Blaze McKinney to the apron. He's going to lose some ground here into the inside. Goes Glenn Bundren. Will he save it all the way down there? And here comes Nick Miller. And getting turned!
Contact.
Zach Vicari around, gets turned by Nick Miller. Will they save it?
I think they did. No, now the caution flies. I think we had more contact with Zachary Vicari, but Nick and Miller got into the 70 trying to get around him on the racetrack. We can easily take a replay. You saw how much they were shuffling. Blaze McKinney down. Glenn Bundren had a little bit of a shot. He had to swerve that race car down the apron, and he got it to work. But here's the battle, trying to move to the bottom, and just no space between those drivers. A 70, I think. Oh, that was piling with Brody Garner. Oh, an open over goes to 70. Huge wreck. That was bigger than I thought it was.
Yeah, that's a really tough situation to be in. A lot of these guys did a good job avoiding it, but up and over goes that 70 car. Massive wreck for that number 70 unnamed sponsor car. But, yeah, tough for him, but Cole Woody is still out front. And I mentioned that I wouldn't be surprised if these cars get roughed up trying to pass these lap cars, but yeah, that stuff. I don't see a lot of damage on that 88 car of Nick Miller, but so it looks like his car is still good enough to make it to the end. But him and Parker White are going to start on the outside. No, I don't think they're going to meet. I think they're going to get a single file restart this time.
Yeah, since we on the restart into turn 3, they'll probably get the single file by the race official. They'll probably make that decision to go single file. But if they go double, it's still going to be interesting. But you mentioned Nick Miller without too much damage. Boy, he got away with that. Because if he doesn't get damage from this, that's pretty much a slap on the wrist for that 88 for getting involved with the 70. So Nick Miller still in this race. We saw the driver that made the most positions on those fresh tires was the 95 of Parker White. He's currently second. And, you know, when you have a bunch of drivers who stay out, are on those older tires, and you have the drivers who pitted recently, are on those new tires, on the fresh tires, have the better advantage, even when they're trying to get around, it's not as easy as you think, because you can be held up on both lines by all those drivers on the old tires, and you can't really get around them without trying to cause an incident. And that's what happened with the 88 of Nick Miller and Zachary Vicari there.
Yeah, that's just tough to be in. And you know, I think Nick Miller expected a little bit of courtesy from that 70 car. Obviously, he dove down low. He's on new tires. He's ready to get to the front, but unfortunately, that 17 just would not let him go. And I think he might have expected him to lift there. So, just a tough spot for both of those cars to be in, as a lap car and a car on fresh tires.
So 91 laps behind us, still about 10 laps or so to go, less than 10 laps to go in this race till we get to lap 100. If you're just watching, we welcome you to what chaotic at Charlotte Motor Speedway for the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series. We appreciate you joining us on the YouTube stream. And of course, we saw a little active chat with a bunch of course, the driver inputs. We saw Andy McDowell said that he quit the race. He said that he got bored of pacing under yellow and that he doesn't really like the track itself, so he decided to just bin it. He's out of the race for now. And Mitch Hobbs saying that his incident with the one of Jonathan T. Jones. So it's been fun seeing a lot of the people down there in the YouTube chat and really expressing their frustrations, their gratitude, or whatever you have with us here on KBRN on the KBRN Racing Network. So we're approaching the final stint of the race. I said it might have been the final green flag run of the race, and obviously it wasn't. We had another yellow flag here tonight, and we'll look at your race summary presented by Supermix there. The leader, Cole Woody, the 041 currently up front. 91 laps completed. We have 9 laps remaining. We currently had 8 lead changes. Includes Keenan Jones, Connor Brandon, Nick Miller, Blaze McKinney, Aaron Maroney. Those guys all battling for the race lead. We've had 11 cautions, 43 laps under the yellow flag. That's your race summary presented by Supermix. We approach the final part of this race. And I want to ask you, before we go green, is what can you really do as the drivers on the old... There's 2 drivers left. There was a little bit more drivers, there were about 3, and that was the 70 of Zachary Vicari. He got into trouble with Nick Miller. Do you expect to see any more contact between Eli O'Quinn and possibly Cole Woody?
Yeah, definitely, and especially we might get the restart with maybe 5 laps to go here. We'll just have to see. I think we're going to get a restart with just over 5 laps to go. Those guys who stayed out, they want to win. That's why they stayed out in the first place. You wouldn't see them do that early in the race, so they want to come out here and win. They're going to block like madmen if they have to, but just those new tires just stack up against them, and they're just so much better. But if they do make contact, these guys behind them do have the opportunity to slide on by and score another good finish. But this is weird because my telemetry shows that Aaron Maroney. Never mind. Ignore that. My bad. I thought I was gonna make a point there, but I forgot what I was gonna say.
All right. Well, whenever you remember it, you can just say it. Yeah. All right. Well, Aaron Maroney is still in a good spot. He's in that top. Blaze McKinney there as well. Dylan Baier pick, and I feel like the driver that's sandwiched right now, the driver that really needs that edge right now is that 5 of Parker White. He's on the fresh tires like everyone else behind Eli O'Quinn, so he's in the best spot right now to possibly take the race lead going into turn 1 and 2, because those fresher tires, even if you're on the outside, it makes a big effect on the drivers down low on the older tires that go a little bit slower than him on the fresh tires. So Parker White in a good spot right now. Cole Woody is in the catbird seat. He needs to watch what happens in his mirror, because that could be tough, and he could possibly end up in a situation that the 70 of Zachary Vicari was in, where he was turned around by a driver on the fresh tires. So 1 to go. Cole Woody in the race lead. Parker White behind him. Eli O'Quinn, Nick Miller, Blaze McKinney, Aaron Maroney behind them. I believe Dylan Basin is behind him. Those drivers on the fresher tires this will be the battle for what possibly could be the race win unless we get another yellow on the racetrack. So we're getting about 5 laps remaining in this race till we get to the end of it. We appreciate you joining every lap of, even during the yellow flags and all the cautions we've had tonight. So we appreciate you sticking with us here tonight. We still got racing to go before we conclude this thing and decide a winner. Cole Woody, Parker White will lead the field to green as the pace car will come off pit road off of turn number 4. They'll be under the 014's discretion. An early green flag with just about 5 laps remaining.
And a good jump by that 014 car. Gets out in front. Nick Miller slid into third place. That 88 car and 95 are going to be neck and neck coming down to this if Nick can just catch up. But the 95 of Parker White is gaining. Cole Woody could block for that race lead. And if he does, that 88 car can catch right up to him.
Yeah, if they go side by side, if they battle, that 88 could take opportunity. If he can catch up, and we saw the drafts playing a factor, here is now the battle for the race lead all over the back. Bumper is the 95 of Parker White on board with Cole Woody going into turn. Contact.
And then at turn 1, contact to that rear quarter panel. That's going to allow the 88 to catch up. Battle for the race lead and a caution round once again.
Oh my goodness, that would have been such a good run to the end and a huge wreck. That involves the driver on the old tires. Is around with hard damage to the front of that race car. Oh my goodness, that was looking so good to the end of that race until we had the yellow. It was contact between the drivers up in this group with Aaron Mulrooney, Nicole Williams, Brianna Lavin in the mix as well. And here's contact between the 42 and the 055. Sends her around up into the 019. Dylan Basin gets loose on the racetrack as well. A little bit of damage to that race car, but he's able to remain a little bit unscathed. He saves the race car. We're going to go on board and see exactly what went down with the 019 of Dylan Basin there. I mean, Dylan Basin, excuse me, Eli O'Quinn.
And on board with him here. Like the 41. Once again, we see a car try to get down to the inside. And bam!
Oh.
A hard hit to that outside wall he goes. And yeah, Cole Williams just got up back onto the lead lap. So he was in a decent position. But yeah, come back to Kenneth.
Oh boy. There's not much words to say after that incident with Eli O'Quinn and the 019. That onboard cam was brought to you by EO Media onboard camera for tonight's action. Cole Woody that was a lifesaver for him because he had the bumper full of that 95. You could see that Toyota Camry right behind him, the bright red with the American flag on the hood. Boy, that must have been scary for the 014. And then when the caution came out, that must have been a huge relief. Because, oh my goodness, that is... If I was in that position, like, I would be, like, wacky nervous. It's a hard position to be in when you're on the older tire.
Yeah, and Cole Woody is showing no remorse. Almost blocking that 95 all the way down the apron. That allowed that 88 car to catch up so much. And yeah, I was surprised with how fast that 88 caught up, and he could have made a pass for the win, for the lead and possibly the win, but unfortunately those guys behind him got caught up in a wreck. So this is going to push us into our first attempt at a green-white checkered, and I can tell you it only gets more wild from here.
Yeah, if you look back at the Michigan race in this very series, the green flag checkered attempts were wild. We continued to have yellows from there on out, and that really took a while to finish that race up, and we could possibly see the same situation here tonight. And while we're under caution, we're going to get a few. Seven, who's asked a couple tonight. His other question is, why so many yellow flag? Why so many yellow flag pace laps? Is this the minimum number of pace laps for a yellow flag? Is it set by iRacing? Charlie, you got the answer?
Yeah, it's iRacing kind of tweaked the caution laps, and I think they made it just. I think they made it just 1 lap longer for 1.5 mile tracks, which is kind of frustrating. But for the super speedways, they made it like really short. So they kind of tinkered it with recently, and it's kind of adding 1 or 2 extra caution laps here, and it's kind of frustrating because these cautions take forever, almost as long as the old super speedway caution laps. So they kind of tinker with it, and most of us are not really big fans of it.
Yeah, we've got another question by LVB down in the YouTube chat. Asked, who would you like to thank tonight? I think I'm gonna start with thanking all the viewers here at the K1 Racing Network. You guys are what makes what we are, and how much fun we've had over the past couple of broadcasts, climbing through. I wouldn't say ranks, because there's not really ranks in this type of field, but having fun with these series and picking up these series and putting on a show for the YouTube viewers and the league drive to look back on, and it's fun to think. So I'd like to thank all the viewers down tuning into our streams and tuning into our broadcasts. It means the most to us here at KBRN. We put in a good amount of effort to put these shows on for you. We're constantly trying to innovate, trying to make things better, trying to make things more realistic, trying to make things as good as possible for the viewers, of course. So that's the biggest thank I'd like to give. Charlie, you got anybody you want to thank?
Yeah, like you said, I want to thank the people in the YouTube chat. Thanks for keeping our chat active, I should say. Under these long green flag runs, and asking us questions, keeping us occupied during these cautions. Obviously, not just letting it go to waste during commercial breaks. So it's valuable time that we can use to promote stuff and do other shenanigans and have conversations. So obviously, you don't like to see caution laps, but a lot of these are prone to it, and yeah. So I gotta think.
All right, well, we are thankful here at the K1 Racing Network, but boy, the driver who was thankful to see that yellow flag was Cole Woody, 014. A rough run. He was under pressure from both of 88 and the 95, and now he has a little more work to do on this short stint on the first green-white checkered attempt of the night. I think we'll take one more pace lap around before we get the command to green. I'm not sure whether they'll do a 1 to green signal. I think it'll just be 2 wide, just double wide this time for the green-white checkered. And if we get another yellow, we'll try another. And if we get a yellow before the white flag comes out, we'll try the third and final attempt. And if that doesn't work out, caution flag will end the race. Field will be frozen. Driver in first position will take the win. And if it's that 014, his first start could be his first win.
Yeah, but he has a locking. That 014 car has a lot of blocking to do if he wants to find his way to victory lane. But finally, 1 lap to green here. Drivers lining up double file. No more single file unless they get a caution within 1 lap of the green flag coming out. And yeah, these guys are gonna get set to go back racing. 2 friends on the bottom line, Cole Woody and Nick Miller, have a lot of experience racing together in the ice car ranks. They're friends with each other. I would expect them to race each other a bit nicer, but obviously everyone's racing for their own race, and I would expect them to rough each other a little bit as well. On the outside, Parker White on those fresh tires along with Blaze and pretty much everyone else behind them. And starting right behind him is Blaze McKinney, who dominates this series pretty much, and I don't know. I'm pretty tired, man.
It's been a long race. I can't blame you.
I'm trying to find things to say, but these caution laps are pretty exhausting. I'll admit that. But good thing we have an exciting green light checkered up free. Go ahead, Kenneth.
That's funny. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we've got a first green white checkered attempt. Cole Woody, Parker White, Nick Miller, Blaze McKinney, Aaron Mulrooney, Cole Williams outside of row 3. The 014 will mash the gas pedal. We are underway. The first green-white checker tonight at Charlotte.
Hopefully they make it around to the white flag. Parker White tucks in right in front of that 88 car of Nick Miller. Blaze McKinney trying to fight for that position as well. But we're going to see Parker White get a pretty big run down the back straightaway as we see the 87 and the 88 car battle for 3rd place. All the way down to the inside goes the 014 of Cole Woody, trying to fend off, but using that outside line power goes Parker White off of turn number 4. Almost contact with that back bumper. Put this top 4 under a blanket. 1 lap to go here at Charlotte.
And there's Nick Miller to the bottom of the racetrack with Cole following with Blaze McKinney. All of those guys shoved in that final lap as they were approaching the tri-oval. Nick Miller to the race lead on the final lap off of turn number 2 for the final time. Blaze McKinney has a bumper full of his front with Nick Miller in front of him, down on the bottom of the racetrack for the final time. This is the race hard, crashing behind them. Maroney involved, down to the stripe, off of turn 4. The win will go to the stripe. It'll be Nick Miller with a win in the Bundren Lawn Care Series here at Charlotte. His first win this season after a heartbreaking end in the Michigan race. Finally gets a win tonight in the Stars and Stripes scheme.
Oh my goodness, what a race that was!
Oh my!
They were all over each other coming in the final corner, and Blaze McKinney made one last ditched effort to the inside to try to steal that win. Oh my gosh, dude, that was insane. That was probably, along with Michigan, that was probably one of the best finishes we've had this season.
Boy, and Michigan also had a green-white checkered attempts to... What a drive to the end by Nick Miller. We did not expect that whatsoever. I was thinking Parker White was going to make the move to the outside and fend with Cole Woody there. But then, all of a sudden, the 88 spawns himself into this top 3 with Blaze McKinney behind. He had a bumper full of that 87 who was trying to move him at the end of the race. Nick Miller, first win this season, burning it down like he deserves to after that grueling victory. And boy, what a celebration that must be for that 88. He must feel great. Right now, we're going to bring the results to the middle of your screen and see where everybody finished. Of course, Nick Miller with his first win this season in the Bundren Lawn Care Series. He takes the victory. Blaze McKinney falls just short of another win of 2 in a row from his win at Iowa. He finished second. Parker White, after another strong run, he doesn't get the bad luck time. He finishes in third. A good finish for him in the 95 team. Cole Woody on those old tires survived for a 4th place finish and a top 5. So a good strategy call for Cole Woody at the end of that event. He almost had the win, but those guys were surging ahead. Then Brady Wheeleman, another top 5 for him. So a good strategy for him. He got involved in the wreck early. He's got that faster pair. He's able to launch into the top 5 at the end of this race. Ryan Potter, good finish for him as well. JJ Hill for Instagram finishes 7th. Curtis Granger, Kilo Hankins, Alfred Vasseur will round out your top 10.
Outside your top 10, Kelan Belsha scores an 11th place finish. Carl Faust, those 2 guys maintaining their top 10 place and points in the championship. Lane Stevens, first time starter here, finishes 13th. Preston Cope in that 47 car finishes 14th. Zach Curry got in a bit of trouble with Nick Miller there under a few yellows ago. Finishes 15th. Cole Williams, not really a rebound for him. Unfortunately, couldn't really get that rebound. Finishes 16th. Aaron Mulrooney got caught up in that final corner, got into a wreck. Finishes 17th. James Juggerman 18th. Eli O'Quinn 19th. And Glenn Bundren Jr. finishes 20th. That'll round out your top 20.
Coming back out of the top 20, you'll find Henry 4 laps behind the leaders in 21st, and Brianna Lavin, Yo 55 22nd, Dylan Basin 23rd, Brody Garner 24th, Mitch Hobbs, Jonathan Jones, AJ Bain, Shane DiMantova, Zach Alman in his first start, and Dane Cruz finishes just inside of the top 30, 47 laps down.
And right outside the top 30, Kane Natkins obviously disconnected early. Finishes 31st, Dylan Parker 32nd, Connor Brandon 33rd, Sean Dobson 34th, Keaton Jones, another early exit 35th, Jackson Mensu 36th, Ty Smith 37th, Andy McDowell 38th, Jacob Tyler May 39th, and Joe Bridgie 40th. Hunter Rupp 41st, Sartaj Man 42nd, and Joe Naka will round out your field.
43 cars finished tonight's event here at Charlotte, and the man who tops all of them at the end of the night is that 88 of Nick Miller. When we come back, we have more coverage from the Charlotte Motor Speedway and the iRacing Bundren Pairs. We'll have interviews with the top drivers, including your race winner and how those drivers were feeling at the end of that run in the green-white checkered. So stay tuned. We've got more coverage. You're watching the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series on the K1 Racing Network. Welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway, where Nick Miller captured his first win of the 2020 iRacing Bundren Series season. We're going to get an interview with him and pick him in the booth and in victory lane. Nick Miller, welcome to the KBRN booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Nick Miller, boy, you had a rough run at Michigan. You had a close shot to the win at leading the front. You got into an incident at the end of the race. Now you come back here at Charlotte with a good plan, a good strategy. You pick up the first win here tonight. Tell us how that feels.
I had to do anything I could to I had to get myself in the chase, and I think the only way I can do it is I win in these next 2 weeks. So we're going balls to the walls, hoping to get that top 10 chase spot. I mean, we're way out of it right now. I think we're at 37th, so this will help a lot.
Yeah, you were 37th prior to this race, and with this win and all the laps that you led tonight is really going to make an effect on the point standings going into the final 2 races. Over that last run, before the caution came out for the green-white checkered, you were sitting behind Parker White and Cole Woody, and then all of a sudden, well, we didn't really expect it that the Parker White and Cole Woody were battling together, and you started to shoot yourself into their area, and then as soon as the green-white checkered restart came out, you were in contention. How that last lap through your perspective behind the wheel?
Yeah, I had to look back at the replay. Cole went, I think, on pace car. Man, I was side by side with Blaze, and then I drove it in pretty deep, got around Blaze, and then I think Woody. Let's see what happened here with 3. I just know a huge hole opened on the bottom. Looks like Parker overdrove it. Then he went under Cole. Yeah, I don't really think Cole already put a block on Parker. I think because Parker overdrove it on the outside and then tried pulling crossover, but Cole was there, so he had to check up. And then I came with a huge run. I mean, I guess Cole could have blocked me there, but I don't know if maybe I had too much speed. I didn't want to hurt his race and everyone around it. And then coming to the white, I blocked Blaze as low as I could. And then I figured if I was to go up high and get myself a better arc into the corner, I could get a better run off, and it just happened it worked out. And it's the one time that I actually trusted iRacing, and it's multi-groove of what they say it's multi-groove.
All right, Nick, boy, you really pulled off that final to the race win over Cole Woody, Parker White, Blaze McKinney in there. Before we let you go and celebrate your victory, you got any sponsors or teams you want to thank for making tonight happen?
Yeah, SPG, and it was last 10, 15 laps. I want to thank Cole Woody, helping me out, calling those restarts to the last one. But he helped me out there, I guess, at the end. But like I said, SPG, all those guys, Shane Demanova, Aaron, all them. Yeah, good race today, even though a lot of cautions.
Yeah, it was a lot of cautions for sure, but you were the man at the end with the checkered flag. Congratulations. Congratulations on your first victory this season. We hope to see you in the coming weeks in this series. And, thank you for taking the time to join with us here at KBRN. It means a lot, and we'll let you go celebrate your victory. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Nick Miller out of the booth, his first win this season. Charlie is down trackside with Blaze McKinney, who comes up just short of going back-to-back. He's got the interview now.
And Blaze McKinney just short of a win here. We're going to go ahead and drag him into the booth here. Blaze, into the booth. You got a copy with us?
Yep, I got you.
Well, Blaze, it came down to it, and I feel all you guys were neck and neck for that race lead, and it really came down to that final corner. What happened?
Yeah, it was a good race. We didn't really have a lot of time in the lead, but I was just kind of trying to manage my stuff back in 4th or 5th most of the race. I felt like we had probably one of the best cars, just I didn't want to use it until the end, and finally got up front there on that green flag run, and I just didn't have enough fuel, so we had to pit and then had to rally back up to the front and just came up short. Good finish with Nick. It's fun racing with them guys up front. Clean racing. Didn't want to do anything too aggressive, so I just wanted to try to get the win for the team, but just couldn't do it. It's all right. Another 2nd place finish to get more points. Good points day though. That's what I'm happy about.
Yeah, and I'm still shocked by that finish. Is there anything you really could have done differently? I know it really came down to that last 200 feet of the racetrack, and is there anything you really could have done differently to just edge out Nick at the line? Because it came down to just a nose.
Yeah, I feel like I could have drove it in a little bit harder into 3. I thought he was right on my door, so I didn't want to slide up and hit him. So I just trying to ease it in there a little bit more. But I felt like if I could have drove it in a little bit harder, I might have been able to get the edge. But and when Parker came up behind us, he chose to push Nick to the line, and I felt like if we would have had the push, we might have had him. But I mean, it just came down to circumstances. It was just a good battle. I don't know what I really could have done that would have actually worked.
All right, well, Blaze, another really good points day for you, finishing second here. You're going to continue to extend that impressive points lead. And thank you for coming out here racing with us tonight at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And before I let you go, do you have any teams or sponsors that you want to thank?
Yeah, at Crystal Lake Designs for coming along for bring this great patriotic paint scheme here tonight. Bundren Lawn Care and PPM for letting me come out here every week and race.
All right, well, Blaze, we'll see you next week at Darlington. Hope to see you sporting a cool little throwback paint scheme, and we'll wish you the best of luck there.
All right, thank you guys.
Blaze McKinney, dominant person, car driver, I should say, of the season, extending his points lead once again with a second place finish here at Charlotte. One more inning for you tonight. Kenneth Bueno is down trackside with Parker White.
Parker White comes into the booth, and welcome to the booth, Parker White. You got a cop?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, Parker, I think your bad luck streak comes to an end here at Charlotte. You ran an impressive race and a strong race that didn't end in a record, didn't end badly for you. Tell us how that last run all the way to the checkered flag went with everybody around you.
Yeah, that was definitely crazy. I just tried to stay up there in that top 5 just to be there at the end. I want to give a thanks to Blaze because he was willing to work with me and get me in that spot.
All right, well, before that green-white checkered, we were looking at you behind Cole Woody and how much different the fresh tires played a factor, especially since Cole Woody was on those older tires and he had stayed out, and you had pitted with the rest of the leaders behind them, and you had those fresh tires. Was there any kind of quiet struggle between trying to get around those guys that had compared to yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I tried to go on the bottom of Cole there, but he just kept protecting that, which he did really good. I think if I would have around the top, I would have got around him pretty easy, but I didn't.
All right, Parker. Well, you pick up a third place podium finish here tonight. That must feel good for you and the 95 team. Before we let you go out of the booth, you got any teams you want to thank for making tonight happen?
Yeah, I do. I want to thank McGrath Sim Sport. I want to thank Bundren Lawn Care, and I want to thank you guys at KBRN for putting an awesome broadcast on every week.
Well, we appreciate your support, and we are thankful to see you down at. You've put on some insane races for us to watch, and you've been performing, pretty much outperforming a good chunk of the people here, and you've put on a great show. But congratulations on the third place finish. So you finally get that bad monkey off of your back, and you finally get a podium position here. We thank you for joining us here in the booth, and we hope to see you at Darlington with a throwback scheme next week.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys.
Parker White out of the booth finishes just inside the top 3. He gets his first top 3 of this season in the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care Series. So we've ended all the interviews. We finally got the winner down after one attempt at a green-white checkered. Nick Miller was the winner there, and a large turnout, 43 drivers. What did we really expect? What can we really take from this going into Darlington and Las Vegas? Kind of close down the top 10 in points.
Well, one thing I could take away from this is Nick and Blaze are going to be neck and neck for that championship. And if Nick can just score a top 10 points finish right before the cutoff, I think it's just going to be him and Blaze, because I think they're both really close in skill. I think their skill level is really close to each other, and I think that it's going to be really exciting to see them go neck and neck for the championship.
Yeah, it is going to be tough. And I wanted to see Keaton Jones, kind of Connor Brannon, because those guys really faded out to the last portion of the race. Of course, Keaton Jones got into trouble. Connor Brannon pitted, went to the back of the field, and he really didn't pick himself up from there. So it was tough to see those guys kind of fall back. And I think if they were up there with those guys at the end of the night, it would have been fun to watch. But Nick Miller and Blaze McKinney, those guys have been also dominant. Nick Miller has really shown out to that 87 that he could win races. He could be dominant too. And he could be the guy that possibly beats him if we can get to the top 10 in points. And speaking of the races that lead to the playoffs, we have 2 races left in the regular season, just shy of the playoff starting We have Darlington next week. That'll be Monday at 9 p.m. on July 13th. Then following July 20th, that'll be the Las Vegas race. So that'll be the final race that'll decide the top 10 in the playoffs. And then after, we'll breach into the playoffs and give you coverage here on the K1 Racing Network. So we appreciate you tuning in for what has been an insane race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, all 100 laps through the caution and the green flag. So we appreciate you tuning in through each and every lap of that action. Nick Miller, your winner here tonight at Charlotte. For everyone here at the iRacing Bundren Lawn Care, for Glenn Bundren and Bundren Lawn Care, for all of us here in the KBRN studios, for Charlie Baier, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying good night from Charlotte. We take it back retro style next week at Darlington. Good night.
And wear a mask.